homework continues. I was debating which are spooktacular, spook times. It's Locke Key Day here on Wednesday Club. And we have a very special guest.
Yay! Guys, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited. I can't believe this took this long.
It took so long.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited.
Thank you, guys. I'm so excited to be able to nerd out about Locke & Key, and it is close to Halloween, so it's the perfect time to do it.
Absolutely. I'm Amy Dallen. This is Taliesin Jaffe. This is our very special guest, Trisha Hershberger.
Yeah!
Game Engine. What?
Yes, yeah, Game Engine, hi! If you ever tune in Tuesday at 4 p.m. to this very channel, you'll see some video games news and interviews and gameplay and stuff like that with myself and Miss Erica Ishii, who I believe has also been on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's a good time.
We got to catch them all. That's
Indeed.
guest philosophy.
I love it.
So first of all, how are y'all today? We're missing Matt Key, unfortunately. We'll have him back next week.
I know.
Yeah, we lost Matt Key this week, which is ironic.
We traded him
that
for
it's the
other
Locke
keys,
Key.
yes.
Yes.
There's another joke.
What
in
does
there.
the Matt Key do?
They don't
Great
even.
question.
They don't know what that means yet. They don't know what that means yet.
Oh, really? You're
Well,
in for
I'm
a
assuming
treat.
many of you don't. I should probably be looking at the stream chat's really big, so it's hard to read.
We are going to attempt to stay spoiler light tonight. Might fail.
No, okay. I have a lot of, because I want everyone to experience this series and this story, I will be the spoiler crazed person, chopping us like, spoiler! Because I do believe this, and like Game of Thrones, I read before the TV series, and I was very precious about spoilers because I want people to have that genuine first read of it.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have a little bit of book one that we may have to like kind of drag them through a little bit of.
Maybe.
Couple
It's
first issues.
very early in the story.
Well, and a big, oh yeah, the chat is happy to see you. A big bonus with this also is that the books are currently available on Comixology Unlimited.
Yes, Comixology.
You can read a huge chunk of it.
The first 4 volumes are on
That's a lot.
Unlimited.
That's a lot.
Not the last 2, but still, that is a lot. Yes.
That's
And you can get beautiful paper editions of this work.
Yes, or these beautiful hardcovers that Liz got. They're amazing. Also, the audio drama is on Audible.
So I didn't even
Right
know.
now.
Whoa.
I know.
Whoa.
Like what?
Hold on.
I know. The audio drama with starring Haley Joel Osment.
Is he Tyler?
You know what's funny? I'm listening to it and I have no idea.
I'll
So
find out.
I think they recorded it recently enough that he's got to be Tyler. He couldn't be Bodhi. I mean, unless he's a really great voice actor doing
Obviously,
little
if you
kids.
had a time machine, Bodhi.
He's done
Right.
VO.
Like
Yes. So, but it's very well done. Although there's a lot of moments where it's just like weird, like body meat sounds and screaming that, like,
Foley.
because I read the series, I know what's happening. But I'm like, man, if you were just listening to this and didn't know, I'd be so confused. You're like, well, there's death. I mean, it's probably death, but I'm not really
actually-
sure who.
I was gonna say
We
that-
should use that
that's like
as
my-
part
my-
of our
my-
like warning for tonight.
Body meat sounds and Foley.
Yeah, warnings all over this episode, guys.
And serious talk, like
Yes.
this book, I had started it ages ago, and I was like, cool, it's good, I can recommend it, great, I'm gonna get around to reading the whole thing someday. I am currently 5/6 of the way through, so
Yeah,
as soon as
girl.
I'm done with shows tonight, I'm good. Like it's good. I'm dying.
It's so
I'm
good.
dying
Yes.
right now.
I had it confused with another book. I had thought we were reading the wrong book because I had been thinking about The Escapist,
Oh, we need to read that one.
which is a great book. I'm like, I was trying to figure out why is Trish into The Escapist? I mean, it's great, but like, why is that the thing that you like own a bunch of stuff
I'm
for
like,
and
this
like
is the
have
best
this
ever.
and are like, this is what you want to talk about? I mean, it's really cool, but and then I did my little Comixology search and got several hundred pages of this and was like, oh no, this is.
So I got
Very
distracted
different.
introducing that. We'll get into
We'll get into
the
that.
stuff to watch out for later. There is like, this is definitely a Halloween pick, definitely a not for kids.
Definitely not for kids.
Extremely not for kids.
Not for probably many adults, I would venture to say.
It's, I mean, like, I will say definitely, like, as I got to the end of volume 1, I was like, this is a really good meditation on PTSD. There's a lot of PTSD. These are characters with PTSD, and you get to see how they got there, and you're like,
They're
oh no.
going through a lot. But yeah, if anything, if murder sets you off, if child death sets you off, if you would read a Stephen King novel? Anything in that might bug you? Same set of trigger warnings, I would say.
Same Venn diagram.
For Locke and Key. Well, Joe Hill, I don't know if everybody knows
Let's talk about this. Who's this Joe Hill and who is this Gabriel
Joe
Rodriguez?
Hill?
It's crazy.
So Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. Did you not know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, and he chose to pick a different name so that he wasn't judged on his father's merit and success. He wanted to make his own way.
I'm trying to remember some of Stephen King's pen names to see if maybe it's the son of one of Stephen King's pen names.
No,
that would have been really cool.
That I don't know.
That would have been awesome.
But yeah, Joe Hill makes an incredible story here, full of intrigue and drama and suspense. And I don't know, I think one of the best things about this series is how much you actually feel for the characters.
Well-written
And
kids.
We've well-written kids.
That's a pet peeve of mine, and they do it very well here. These are some well-written kids.
And it also has elements of dark fantasy that come in. So it's a very detailed, beautifully built world that they're inhabiting, along with sort of this, like there is violence, there's all this other stuff that we're talking about. There's horror there, but it's like, I don't know, horror fantasy? Is that a genre?
It's.
I would say it's
Horror
fitting
fantasy
for this.
coming of age?
Like horror fantasy coming of age. That's a very great way to say it, Amy.
It's got a little bit of Lemony Snicket, but like if Lemony Snicket,
was
like
real dark.
like what really happened. Like this is like there was like Lemony Snicket's like
The grim
cute
fairy
and
tale
it's, like,
version of Lemony Snicket.
Yeah, this is a very intense adult, angry version of that. I mean, it's got the beautiful house, and it's got oh my god, and the lore is deep.
And there are parts of it where like I'm so curious to dig into it, where like there are parts of it where they are drawing characters behaving badly, and they're drawing it very convincingly. And I can see how some of that, like the question of like, is this contributing to the story, or is it just kind of cruel and pointless? Like that might fall different ways for different readers, but I will tell you that like the construction on this book, the storytelling in this book, the love that you have for the characters, it's just incredible. It's so good. I'm so glad I'm finally reading it. Thank you for
I had
making
some
it.
mild, I had some mild panic attacks in like volume 2 when Andy comes back around. That was-
Just wait, because you've just gotten to the end of volume 2, right?
that's where I'm at. I'm at the end of volume 2.
You've got some stuff to get through.
We sat and read comics for a while. It was quite nice earlier today.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I was
trying to distract him, and then I looked down, and it was from is it a spoiler to say like a story about a teacher?
No, it's not
okay,
spoilery.
there was a story about a teacher.
Yeah.
And you were like,
I looked,
oh.
and I was in the middle of distraction, and I was like, never mind, keep reading.
Yes, but I feel like so much of this is a page turner like that. So I was telling both Amy and Taliesin before the cameras were rolling that this is my favorite comic series of all time, and it has kind of ruined every other comic for me because I read volume 1 of this for a job. I'm very fortunate. I read volume 1 for a job, and I was like, ignoring all my other responsibilities until I finish all of it. And I have never felt that way about another comic ever. So ever since then, any comic I pick up, I'm like, I mean, it's not as captivating as Locke and Key. I'm enjoying it, but...
So that means we get to do this. So Trisha Hershberger.
Yes.
How did you get into Locke and Key? Since that is the comic book that you read, like what was the gig, and where did it bring you? And
so it was a comic book show we were developing for SourceFed Nerd back in the day, where Steve Zaragoza, who I believe you guys both know, and I were introducing ourselves to new comic series. And so every week we would pick volume 1. So it was kind of like a book club. Every week we pick volume 1 of a new comic we hadn't read yet, and read it, do a little bit of research, and then just kind of like discuss our first impressions. Yeah. And it was funny because I feel like that was like one of many shows we were doing on the channel at that time. We didn't have the chance to finish a lot of those series, but this was one that I was like, everything else be damned. Everything else I have to do be damned. I need to finish this right now. Everybody else go do whatever you're doing. Because it's such a page turner. It's so good. So yeah, this for me was like, yeah, just give me more, please. And so I finished it, and then we have the Golden Age, the 3 issues that have come since then. They actually sell the keys for this, and it's just got this wonderful world and lore all around it.
I'm so sad that we couldn't find your. I know that you
good.
have 2 of the keys. I'm sad that we couldn't.
I do. I have 2 of the keys signed by Gabriel Rodriguez.
Are you willing to tell us which ones, or is it a spoilery that you don't want to talk about what any of the keys
I
are?
don't want to talk
Okay.
about. I don't want to talk about what the keys that I have.
Can you tell me what the keys look like? Because that won't mean anything to the audience, but I want to know. Unless you don't want to.
I don't know that I can tell you what they look like without spoilering.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Because their names are very similar to how they look.
Okay.
But you can buy a whole like wall mountable set of the keys.
I might be doing that very soon.
Right?
It's so good.
So good.
Well, and I'm just so glad that you guys are reading it now, because everyone that I talk to that's into comics, I'm like, oh, have you read Locke and Key? Like everybody does with whatever you're so passionate about, you know, whether it's Saga or Why the Last Man, you know, whatever it is. Locke and Key is that for me, so I'm glad that I'm getting to share
And
that
I
with
love,
you guys.
like, I mean, okay, the book's incredible. Joe Hill, Gabriel Rodriguez throughout, they are the creative team for the whole thing. It went, they did it in sort of mini-series, so there'd be like a 6-parter and a 6-parter and a 6-parter, sometimes with gaps in between. And so the total thing of the main story was 6 paperbacks worth, or 6 arcs worth, which are collected, I guess, in these 3 hardcovers, bigger chunks. And then there have been a couple of follow-ups that are sort of standalone things.
The 3 standalones since then. And I was actually just reading earlier today, because I was going down the internet rabbit hole on Locke and Key, that Joe Hill originally was working, I guess he had gotten a gig working for Marvel, but Marvel didn't want it, DC didn't want it. And IDW was like, hey, we want some spooky stuff from you. And he was like, I got just the thing. And I think the quote was something he was like, and I can finish it in a year and 6 issues. Well, 6 years and like 36 issues later, here we have Locke and Key. But it did so well its entire run. It was a really great seller the whole time. Won some Eisner Awards, like really, really strong.
I saw like a lot of the level, I was working in the shop for most of this, where it was always just like, just watching people fall in love with it and like pass it around and all this stuff. And I love that, like, I've sold so many copies of this, but the covers didn't necessarily mean.
No, they're
And
very.
now I look at them and I'm like, there's so much information there.
Like, yeah, like just, yes, look at this. So as a testament to Gabriel Rodriguez and his beautiful work.
He is so good.
His
I'm gonna pull up one of my
beautiful work.
favorites.
He crams so much information into every single panel of this. You know, and that's something that I was reading an interview with Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez, that they worked off of each other. So it wasn't like Joe wrote the story and then Gabriel drew it. They went back and forth to see how much information they could get in each panel to build the suspense and really flesh out this world.
Check whether Trish is approving this.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's okay.
I try and have good judgment.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Here's
okay.
here's one of my favorite cover pieces, and it actually this says.
It's beautiful.
Let's see if I can do this in a way that
We
won't.
might have to do the brightness.
I'll change the brightness really quick.
Let me see. Yeah.
What is the summary that? How do you sell Locke and Key to people without spoiling?
Oh man. Okay, so like the very broad overview
Yep.
of Locke and Key is that a family
So beautiful.
returns to their family house from
Which is, we could say, I think it's not a spoiler. It's a big, beautiful, like old
Manor.
mansion thing. It's,
yes,
it's like very.
they
Many
return,
rooms.
They return to their family home and estate, we shall say, to battle both physical and inner demons in a coming-of-age story led primarily by 3 children, and the estate itself has magical powers. So it's nice in that, you know, it's like these kids are fighting this crazy demon, but unlike some fantasy stuff where maybe the kids are like rolling nat 20s every single time and it's unbelievable, I feel like this is a really good...
Not a lot of nat 20s in this story.
Right. Well, like, it's a fair fight for the most part, and it's only fair. It's only fair because the kids have the magic of these keys within the estate. If they didn't have the magic, there's no way they'd be able to fight back against this insurmountable evil.
Right.
And yeah, they don't win every battle.
No.
That's why there are so many issues of this story. And when we start, we find out that we're actually kind of coming in at the end of the story. So it's just it's beautifully told. It's really smart. That's how I would sell it.
It's definitely like, yeah, it's a family returning home after tragedy. Everybody's pretty shocked and shaken. And then the notion, and I'm trying to remember the name of the town. It's so bloody obvious. It's like
Lovecraft.
It's Lovecraft. It's the town called Lovecraft.
Volume 1 is called Welcome to Lovecraft. It's Lovecraft, Massachusetts. They're wearing their influences on their sleeve.
Yep.
It's very cute.
And the notion that the house is filled. I mean, like I think it's worth saying like the house is filled with like we talk about with these keys, and each key does a different thing, and they're all useful in different ways, and they have strange powers that interface either with the house or the people in them, or sometimes just by themselves.
And the way that they've designed the magic of the keys is really smart too, because I feel like when a lot of times when you delve into magic in storytelling, it can kind of be this like Deus Ex Machina, and then there was a spell that saved the day, the end, and it's kind of poor storytelling. But the keys set a limit on the magic because each key has its very specific what it can and can't do, and how you would use them or how the bad guys would use them.
And it's sort of like the kind of where each key is becomes an important element because like all the greatest key in the world can't help you if you don't have it.
Yes.
They definitely don't have all of them at first, and they're looking for them. And like just a couple of the keys they speak of at the very beginning. There's a I'm only going to tell just like there's a sex change key. There's a key that you can use in the door, and when you walk through the door, you change gender.
What do they call it? The boy-girl key?
The boy-girl key.
I think they call it the gender key, and that's an interesting one where like I will be curious some of our viewers' impressions because it like the key relies on the idea of binary gender, but it's also one of those like. Even since they started working on this in 2007, a lot of people have changed the way they feel about stuff.
True.
And there's also like convincing teen dialogue that might not be fun to read on some of these issues as you go through. I'm getting that out of the way because I want to recommend this book because it's amazing, but like you might want to know going in. But like mostly that key, storytelling wise, is used very responsibly.
It's very, very responsible.
Like it's not that like don't set your fears to medium.
Yeah.
But like it is an interesting element because it gives cool story possibilities.
Yeah, they don't abuse any of these keys that I've found so far. At least so far that I've read through. And the only other one I would mention is probably the teleport key, since that's such an obvious one. Is a key that you put into a door and then you walk through anywhere you need to be.
The anywhere key.
The anywhere key. There's a lot of keys, and some of them get very weird.
I think my favorite might still be the first one that you meet.
Which one? Which key is it? Oh, the ghost key.
Yeah.
Ghost key is pretty impressive.
The ghost key's great.
But that one's beautiful because it's sort of when you learn what story you're in, like is really when that happens. And it's one of those things where we'll talk about this in a bit, but like this story seems like it's shouting to be adapted, but it's also a perfect comic. And one of those things is that like
this is like one of my favorite panels, and I don't think it's spoilery because you don't know who anybody is yet.
Yeah.
Here, you can put it right here. We have a camera.
Okay.
That will do that.
Do I tilt it?
You can tilt it up.
Okay. So this one this page over here.
God, it's
this
so beautiful.
This one right here.
So this book is terrifying. We should let you know.
This book is really damn scary.
It's so good.
You're gonna love this kid like your life literally depends on it. And I have to ask you, is it different reading this book with a little one?
100% yes. When I first read through it, I did not have a tiny human, and now it's like. It's terrifying. Like my most recent intake of this story is through the audio drama because I didn't realize there was an audio drama until pretty recently. I was like, yes, please, on my Audible. There's a moment in the story. There's a lot of moments in the story where bad stuff happens to kids. If that's a trigger for you guys, like, just be prepared going in.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, so there's one moment in particular where something happens with Bodhi, and I was like,
I'm so glad I've been doing like daytime reading of this.
Now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some people have nightmares from this. I've read that over and over.
Oh, it's nightmare-inducing, and I will say I really I found myself really identifying with the daughter quite a bit.
Oh, you're so Kinsey.
I am, and like every time she has she starts talking, I'm like, yep, yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel. I'm like, oh, just she has a bad time of it. She has a bad. Oh God, I just got to the thing where they like pulled the stuff out of her. Oh, I'm like, no, girl, don't do that.
Yeah, you're in
head.
But you get it, right? Wouldn't you be tempted? Like,
if I were that age, yes. I mean, I kind of did, and like on a metaphorical level. So I'm like, I remember that decision. That's a bad decision. Don't do that. You're just gonna make bad friends.
One thing I love though is that like and I think one reason that it was so easy to fall in love with these characters is that they make mistakes.
Oh,
they screw things up. But like these three would do anything for each other.
Yes.
I mean,
even though they have their bad days.
Yeah,
like all
they have
siblings
plenty
do.
of bad days. But like it's they're a family, and it's really beautiful.
It
Like
is.
it or not,
they're
a family.
They are not happy or healthy, but they are a family.
But I think telling the story through these 3 very different siblings gives a really cool perspective, because Kinsey, Tyler, and Bodhi are in such different places in their lives, and they all kind of represent a very different character type.
Yeah.
And we switch between each character's point of view in different stories. And so seeing what's going on from all of their perspectives is a really, really cool storytelling.
And it's something that they do so brilliantly in that first volume. Like, I would say, if you're picking up this book, assuming that, like, if you've decided you can handle the violence, you'll get into this pretty quickly, but definitely make sure you get at least through the first 3, because you're going to see, like, a piece of each perspective, and you'll immediately get the sense of, like, what they're doing here, building this thing.
That first issue didn't grab me because Tyler is like the one character that I definitely, I mean, like,
Give it time.
You have a hard time with Tyler.
I love Tyler. I love Tyler, but I definitely know we wouldn't have been friends, if that makes sense. But, like, I really feel for him because he's having a shit
He's
time.
having a hard summer.
He's having a hard summer, and he is not. So the 3 kids, the oldest, he's the oldest. It's Tyler. He's the big brother. He's a dude. He is a dude, and he is not dealing with his feelings very well.
No.
And he is running into suicidal thoughts, and he's having a really
hard time.
Yeah, and he's not communicating, and he's just doing poorly, and has no idea how to make himself work better.
But he thinks he's supposed to be, like, strong, and he's sort of trying to do an impression of it.
And he's bad at it.
Well, and he
bad at it.
kind of has to be the parent figure.
Yeah.
Because
because
mom's
of
a
some-
wreck.
Yes,
In some ways, he does a great job of it.
And he's a teenager that's dealing with his own teenage stuff, and then has all this other tragedy and responsibility thrust upon him while he's fighting demons in his spare time.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And doing a pretty good job at that. I got to give him credit. Like that layer, and like I can definitely see his kind of like, oh, thank God, a distraction almost. Like it's something to like get away from. And then
But Kinsey's your girl.
Kinsey is who I would have been friends with growing. Like immediately, I'm like, oh, we would have been friends. Like you are the fucking best. I like Kinsey. She's just what would I call it? Post rebellion weird kid.
Yeah.
Like she's kind of stopped trying to like. And she has a whole conversation about that I really like in the book, where she's like, I don't have to try hard to be something else anymore. She does that kind of, I'm just gonna be myself now and hope that's okay. But like it's all gonna be in here. I don't need any of this outside bullshit. And I really, oh man, I love that kid. I love that kid so much. And oh my God, again, also very fucked up and not processing all of the awful very well.
She's on a journey as well. And like, man, Bodhi, who I was calling Bode for most of the book until somebody said Bodhi, and I was like, oh,
Bodhi.
been doing that wrong.
Yes, I did that for a while when I was reading it as well.
The youngest.
Because it's spelled B-O-D-E in my defense.
Yeah.
But like, you know, he's a kid, but it comes out feeling like a fully formed, whatever he is, 9-year-old, like where you're
I think
just
he's younger than that. He
even
might be
younger, 6.
than that.
I'm not good with kid ages.
I want to say
Kindergarten,
6.
5,
He's in first grade, so he's 6.
6.
Yes.
Okay. And
He sounds like a kid. Like and he's precocious and he's imaginative and.
Well, it's so cool to see the magic through his eyes.
Yeah,
Because
'cause
he's
he's-
excited by the fantasy of it all.
yeah. And he accepts sort of certain things at face value, and it's a beautiful device because, like, we as readers are like, no, that definitely is happening. Listen to the kid, you know?
Right.
Oh God, that mechanism they use for the magic. I don't even know if I want to talk about the mechanism. I mean, like we have to. We have 2 hours of the show. We have to talk about.
Okay, talk about it.
The fact that one of the ways that this magic remains hidden in this universe is that
can say this.
you reach a certain age and you stop seeing it.
You forget about it.
You forget about it, and even when confronted with it, it just kind of washes over you.
Well, and they deal with that with Uncle Duncan. You see that with Duncan. And I assume we would have dealt with it with Rendell if we were given that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Duncan, we see that a lot, that, you know, he used to know this magic and doesn't anymore and doesn't remember any of it.
Or how any of it works or what any of it does. And and like all you're left with are these notes and clues that they left behind as children to kind of like as a map of how any of this shit works. And like even the people who made these maps don't really understand what anything is anymore.
So the kids have to kind of work it out for themselves and decide who they can trust. And
Oh.
But it's a cool storytelling device that makes it necessary that it's the children who have to stop the
Yes,
evil and
which
save
is
the
important.
day.
It's like why, because you should call the cops and show them the magic and get yourself safe. And it's like, nope, not an option.
Not an option.
Nope, can't be done. It's so, oh man, and like do we go into the what was the name of the blonde on the motorcycle? I just blanked on her. The high school friend.
Tyler's
crush.
girlfriend.
Yeah, Tyler's
Yeah.
crush. They're not the thing.
Jordan.
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 Yeah, her reaction to the whole thing is just, not all the kids do well with this. Like, not everybody's on board. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to show one cover.
Oh,
I feel like this one's not.
No,
Such a
they
beautiful-
don't know what that is.
Yeah.
No one knows what that
But
is.
just
No one knows what that is.
appreciate the feelings that you feel in your soul when you see this.
Oh, I love it so much.
Pretty sure
God,
they
that
won some
art.
Eisners for this book.
Oh,
God,
yeah.
that art.
I know. Gabriel Rodriguez does such a lovely job. There is one issue. I want to say it's called Sparrow or Sparrows. That is very widely lauded as maybe the best issue of this series. And it was inspired by an old Peanuts comic. So if you get the story arc of that issue, it's very like, it starts off with like, I just want to make friends, and like a very Peanuts style
It's
story
weird, like,
arc.
is it Calvin and Hobbes and Peanuts somehow?
I haven't read this one. I think this is further. So I will let you know if you start to spoil anything. But go ahead. Like I'm
I know, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But yeah, it's very interesting the way that it's done. Gabriel Rodriguez does such a nice job with this cartoonish, childlike art style while we're dealing with some really dark, heavy subject matter.
And that issue in particular shows it off because he's flipping back and forth between the perspectives.
Right.
I enjoyed like that period where they really got into sort of experimenting with like homages to other comic book stuff while staying themselves, like the issue that was like old war comics. That was for totally great story reasons, we start to see the world through that set of eyes.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where it's like, as much as I want to see this adapted, it's great that it is a perfect comic. Because I don't know what a filmmaker would do with, like, how would you do that?
I can think of a couple of things I would do. I'm already.
It's an exciting problem, but like.
Yeah, I would love to see it driven with the correct pilot.
I
want to see it navigated with the right.
I very rarely pick up a comic book and say like, I wish they would make a TV series out of this. That is not a phrase that comes out of my mouth very often. I'm normally like, well, you couldn't make this into anything even reasonable.
This would be a brilliant.
Make such a good TV.
Why hasn't? They keep trying.
Yes.
What is the saga?
Yes.
How many times have they tried to turn
They have tried
this?
so many times to make this into either a film or a TV series, and every time it's this exciting headline that like someone's picked up Locke Key, woo! And then it never happens. That has happened so many times, to the point where they even had a pilot filmed and shown at San Diego Comic-Con that was super well received, that everybody was excited about, and then it never got made.
Why?
But the latest headline as of 2018 is that Netflix has picked it up. We'll see. I want to be optimistic as a fan, but we have been let down so many times. Netflix has picked it up. They're keeping on some of the people from the previous pilot,
Okay.
none of the cast. They're recasting
And you
it,
saw
and
this
it's a new
pilot?
director. I did.
It made you feel good
It was
about.
great. I thought it was really good. I was excited. So they're going with a new cast and a new director, but I
Okay.
believe they're keeping on the same
Oh my God.
producer, maybe writer and showrunner,
Okay,
something like that. But that was, how many years ago was
Well,
that?
you might have to recast those kids
Dimension
probably
Film-
Right, they're probably too old now.
Exactly.
Yeah, Dimension Films in 2010, 20th Century Fox 2 years later. Moved through 7 different producers. Heartwood Aces. Oh my God! 2000. Oh my God!
First.
It might be.
It's got almost an entire page of attempts to make this into a television series.
And I wonder why, because I feel like the fan base is certainly there. It's one of the best horror stories I've read in any medium.
It should have been a no-brainer when Walking Dead was a hit, and they were like, "Give me something else."
Yeah,
This should have gone in a second. They're not the same story at all, but they are
No.
very much like other stories in comics that you might want to adapt, and people would spend. I would have really looked forward to the period of time at the shop where I would over and over be like, "Did you know it's based on a comic? Did you know it's based on a comic?" They would sell the crap out of it.
Right.
They even tried to make a trilogy of films, which I wouldn't do this as a film. I'd do this as a TV series, but like,
People have tried to do it as a film.
yeah, but like that's the word. I'm like, TV.
I think it would be better for TV as well.
But like I mean, like it would be so good for that. It would be so good for that.
Yeah.
And then apparently an audio drama.
Yeah.
I just found this out recently.
Was it like a backdoor way to get interest in the adaptation, or was it just that somebody was like, "Hey, let us do this"?
I think they were just like, I mean, you have it up, but I think it was just like, hey, let's do this. And it's really good. It won awards, I think.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about
Holy
Gabriel
wow, yeah.
Rodriguez. Mostly
Rodriguez.
the couple of facts that I know about him, which is he has a new story out called Sword of Ages, which is like a cool space King Arthur thing with a lady lead that you should definitely be checking out. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Good. And
I learned
that
so much here.
he's from Chile and he's an architect.
Yeah, that
which explains a lot.
because that explains a lot because I was just looking at this.
So I think I read that Gabriel Rodriguez actually designed the entire house as if it was one of the characters.
So good.
So you can
It's
actually
called the
see.
Key House.
We actually have images of the. I'm bad at this.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah, like this is some of his actual renderings of the Key House. It's a beautiful, beautiful estate, and he did a very good job. I'm going to pop to this really quickly as well, of giving you a sense of the town as well, and like where the property that it sits on. It's really, I mean, like, I don't know if I'm a big fan of the movie of it's one of my little terrible treats. Was it the Woman in Black?
I don't know it.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
It's a Hammer horror film.
Okay.
Ooh.
One of the new Hammer horror films, and it's just like an old house. It's a haunted house movie. It's spooky haunted house movie with Harry Potter in it. I know it's.
I see Oafig in chat says it was a group of nerds who love audio dramas.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, like
So good.
it's well built for it, and like the town. If you're a fan of like classic horror, it's so well built for it, and it's so scary, and the house is so scary. And the ghost key. I can't talk about it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, Harry Potter gets very dark by the end of it, but I feel like we've seen the success of scary things happening with kids with the end of Harry Potter.
Kids are scary.
So Hollywood, it's proven. People are going to like it.
People like scary kids.
People like scary stuff happening with kids, so go for it.
It is weird because it would have been perfectly timed to hit in this moment of like the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and like American Horror Story, and like we are in like as a society we are in a yes, tell me the ghost stories phase, and so yeah.
Where Game of Thrones is right now. Yeah, we're into it.
Yeah,
We're into it. Do it.
This would have been. I mean, like I'm looking forward to them doing something with this because it really needs to be.
Do you have a favorite character?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I have. Go ahead.
You said you relate most to Kinsey, but is Kinsey your favorite character?
No.
Okay.
I mean, like the one who's most fun to read is what's his name? The evil fuck.
Dodge?
Yeah, Dodge. Dodge is my favorite right now.
Okay.
Dodge is the character I'm most interested to see where they're going with Dodge because it's
Okay.
It's
Oh.
twisted and weird.
Twisted and weird.
It is very twisted and weird, and I love twisted and weird.
Yeah, it will not disappoint as it goes forward.
I don't know what happened to Dodge, but he is. I don't know if he started amoral. I haven't gotten to the. I'm
Okay.
sure we get to fill that in, but he is an immoral, vicious twit. He is just. I mean, like he is shitty. He's very shitty.
Understatement of the year.
I mean,
That he's
there's a lot of
shitty.
people killing people in this book, but he seems like I don't want to say I feel bad for Sam because I don't, but like at least there's a sadness to Sam that I do not get out of Dodge yet, where I'm just like, you got what you deserved. I get the feeling you kind of got something was coming to you.
Yeah, Dodge is fascinating. I'm torn with that question between Dodge and a side character named Rufus. Yeah, I'm torn between Dodge and Rufus because I feel like Rufus is not only, his perspective is not only used for some really cool storytelling things throughout the tale, but he also, his story arc to me is like Love it.
Which character is Rufus again?
Oh, I don't know if you've met yet.
You have. He's got all the army figures.
Okay, I've met Rufus.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just now. I'm
Now
I'm
you're
in the
getting
middle.
precious.
Like this is Maiden Mother Crone territory. Like where it's just like has begun is in the throes of being obsessed, and you're like been through all this.
No one has called me the Maiden so long.
I'm sorry. That was a weird, sensitive way to compare. I just meant that we're in different phases of life.
I just got
with regard
5
to Locke
years
and Key
younger.
fans.
I just got 5 years younger.
Yeah, but it means I called Trish the Crone, and now I feel
That's okay.
shitty about it.
I'm okay with it. That's cool.
Crone gets all the good spells. She's level 15.
Damn straight. No.
But yeah, I'm in the thick of it, and you're like, I've had this conversation.
So who's your favorite character?
I don't know.
In the thick of it, it's hard to say, right?
It's very hard to say. I can't believe how much I came to love like the friends they make at school. For a book that is so grounded to these central characters.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's any individual friend at school that I would say like I prefer over these main characters, but like I couldn't believe how with a book that doesn't have infinite time, they have to pick and choose what they show us. Like a lot of times in a book like this, if one character made friends and went off on an adventure with them and you hadn't seen them in the other issues and you know everyone else is like in danger, you'd be mad. You'd be like, who are these other people?
Yeah, I don't
Show
care
me
about
these."
them.
But like when Kinsey makes a couple friends and they have a little adventure, I was like every second of it. I was just like, you, my new faves, are you okay? Like it. So yeah.
Ooh.
Those characters, especially since like you meet at least one of them under not super likable circumstances, Kavanaugh,
Right.
and then like over time you're like, oh, I kind of love you. Like
I kinda
you
like
know, it's. I don't know if
cool.
you've met him yet, but you will have feelings about him.
I don't think you've met any of those characters yet. But yeah, the side characters are written so well in this. It's just so good. And I think the terrifying part of it for the main characters and the side characters is that they do a really great job of keeping the evil super close at hand all the time.
Violent and ready to hurt people.
All
At
the
the
time.
drop of
and
a
ready.
hat.
Yeah.
So anyone that they're like, oh, I made a new friend at school, you're like, no, new friend at school. Dear God.
Please remove all of the tools from the shed now, please.
And then it's so interesting because that's the most like urgent all the time. But then on the other hand, like it coexists with this sort of great like I want to talk a little bit about without saying anything, but like just about how much I love reading their mom.
Yeah, Nina's poor Nina.
And it's interesting to see like what we do and don't see explored over the course of the book where I am with her, where like the fact that things don't necessarily get better quickly is the point of a lot of her story. And it makes so much sense and it's so real.
So real.
And it's the opposite of that like danger around every corner where you're like, nothing's urgent about this kind of sadness, but it's so deep.
Yes, and her character actually was an interesting thing that I read between Joe and Gabriel when they were working on the comic. That Joe said in one of the drawings that Gabriel did of a flashback with Nina and Rendell back in the day at a party, that Joe then realized something about her character then that he then made a major plot point of the story that he saw in her face in Gabriel's drawing. So it was really a nice like collaboration between the two, and they just built off of each other, which I think is so cool and so important to the storytelling. But yeah, Nina, a lot hinges on Nina.
She's an interesting and damaged character. I mean, like in the more traditional '80s versions of these stories, like the 1980 Steven Spielberg version of these stories, it's usually happy parents who are just deeply self-involved and are kind of the kids are off doing their own thing. And it's nice to just like, this is not a happy parent. It's not even that she's self-involved, she's just underwater.
Yeah.
Like utterly underwater.
That's a good way to say it.
Angry and like, it's not that she isn't there for her kid. Like
She's trying.
She's as there for them as she can possibly be, but it's like she only has like 3 modes, and it's like despair and anger are kind of really what she's good at. Yeah. And if they need despair or anger, she's got it in both.
She's there, but
And sometimes that's very useful, but like the rest of the time it's just like, oh God, I hope you're cooking breakfast. My God, you're a mess. Oh.
Now, I saw someone in chat mention something about binging this book, and I feel like this could definitely be one of those things where it might be better for your sanity to space it out because there's a lot of shit that goes down.
I've done 2 volumes in 2 days, so.
Right. However, I binged it originally. Amy, you said you binged it. You're currently binging it.
I'm going to be done with this book this week.
As much as
what
I
I
would
love-
say space it out, it's such a page turner that I don't know.
Yeah, like try, but
Good luck.
It's fine, you won't.
Watch an episode of Game of Thrones a week, just one a week.
It's like trying to binge Black Mirror.
Oh.
Like-
I think
I will say the thing that's slowing me down right now, and I love this. This is one of my favorite signs in any comic, is that like I go through a thing and then I have to like I've been doing it digitally, which makes this way more complicated. But like I'm like, oh wait, we've seen this scene before, and I have to go back and flip back. And
I've done
look
that
and
several
go back and
times.
forth because it's so intricately made that like you will find what you're looking for, and you'll be like, yeah, they did show us that thing 2 volumes ago. Oh my God, I didn't know what it meant.
even as much as like flipping to the photo of all of them in the Tempest, like the Tempest drama club photo, I flipped to that like 3 or 4 times while reading. I'm like, nah.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot to be said there. There's one panel in particular in the 2nd volume where it's a 2-page spread, and there is so much detail in it. Gabriel Rodriguez said it took him 10 days just to do that one, but it's so good because when you look at it, you're like I spent forever looking at that to try to get all the detail and nuance in it because the story is told so well with just the image.
And again, now I'm going to contradict myself. This is why you can't adapt it, because you need as much time, like you can live in that page until you're done. Like, and that's the beauty of books, guys. I like them. But that's what's so great there is like it impresses you with the splendors of it, but you get to just sort of stay there as you can press on, you can go back, you can investigate. The deeper you go into that picture, the more it will reveal to you.
Yes.
I don't know which of the ones you mean, but I know what you're talking about. If that makes sense.
Yes.
And like it's just so well done because every time I get used to things where I'm like, I will enjoy this even if it's pretty good. And like I go through and you open those and you're like, oh cool, oh no, you're serious. Yeah, you did this. Like this is a very accurate depiction of the thing it is drawing.
Right.
The beginning of the sex scene in the first issue of Head Games is like
That doesn't involve any of the children. Just put
No.
that out
Yep.
there.
No,
Oh, yeah. That important disclaimer. Thank you, Amy.
but like it's so brilliant. Like I flipped to that. I was like, well, I'm reading this issue now. Like it's
This was one of my favorite issues, not for those exact reasons,
no,
but
but
kind of for those reasons.
but it is kind of it's a brilliant build, and it does it does exactly what it needs to do so well. And it's, oh God, why does everything end so badly? I just like flip 3 pages. I'm like, nope. That's
Oh yeah, it doesn't take long for anytime there's like a beautiful moment, it doesn't take long for it to get shitty again.
It's gonna get
But
gonna get bad.
The beautiful moments are so good. Like there's so many times I laughed out loud reading this story, which I feel like in a
How
great,
dare it be funny as
I
well.
know. I feel like in a horror story though, you need that to really be one with the characters and empathize with the characters and be on their journey with them and it also, I think, laughter makes you put your guard down a little bit.
Yeah.
So then when the bad stuff happens,
time
it
you
hits
relax,
you so much
it gets-
harder.
Like I can't even show that cover.
No,
it's
it's
too much of a-
amazing though.
But it's amazing.
It's so good.
Oh,
You can't do a whole stream of us looking at cool
I know,
stuff
I
going,
feel bad.
ah, and then you guys can't see
Hold
it.
on,
That's
I'm
mean.
gonna find
and
a-
I
I'm
don't
gonna find a
know,
thing I can show.
chat, I'm sorry if it just seems like we're sitting up here just gushing and gushing and gushing
Oh, they're
about
so
how
used to it.
wonderful this is. Is this what happens every episode? You guys?
A lot.
A
'Cause
lot.
I'm like, I'm sure people want us to be critical too, but it would be so hard for
We
me to be
spend
critical.
most of our time
this
talking
too
about
disturbing to
things that we
show?
love.
But this is very much gives the vibe of that kind
It
of
gives the vibe. Yeah, I would say show it.
Yeah.
And it's
this
an
is-
homage to a classic cover we've shown before.
It has. Like
So-
this is very much the
Those
the
of
vibe.
y'all who remember our EC
Oh.
Comics episodes will know that a certain book that nearly got the comic industry destroyed in the 50s
Mm-hmm.
is getting a nice little hat tip right here.
Isn't that
It is
wonderful?
in good taste.
It is in good taste.
Bill Gaines was right.
Chad has also mentioned a couple things, which that because we are also suggesting books for you.
Okay,
Not a comic
yes.
book. The Graveyard book is also a good
I
complement
still
to
haven't
this.
read that one.
Okay.
The game in its prose, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's actually a good
Said
thing.
it's
That,
Neil Gaiman. Okay.
yeah, there's been a few really fun a few fun. As a mom, do you recommend it as bedtime reading?
Oh.
No.
No, not to your kids.
Not
I mean,
even-
bedtime reading for you.
How do
if
you like
you're
to
into
sleep?
What kind
that.
of dreams do you want to have?
Although Ivan Van Norman reads horror stuff to Phoenix all
That
the time.
explains
He's
a
like,
lot
Phoenix
about that
loves
kid.
it.
But Phoenix is made out of Ivan, so that might
Right.
not be like
That
a...
might be a little different.
Yeah, no, like I love
Agreed.
that kid, but every now and then I can tell he's thinking like, this looks flammable. You're
Yeah.
Like, oh no.
Well, you know, his name's Phoenix. so
Yeah.
it's
Fair.
appropriate.
Yeah.
He
appropriate.
will come out of this place will burn down. He'll come out with 3 dragons and be like, fun again.
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
no.
going to be one of those books that I would not let Logan read.
How old does he have to be before you're going to let him read Locke Key?
21. I mean, much, much older.
I
yeah.
would have 16, 15. I would have really dug this at 15, 16.
You were a special 15-year-old.
I was.
But there are a
there's-
lot of them out there.
If you have a special 15 or 16-year-old, I'm definitely going to recommend this to some of the teenagers in my life.
I mean, I will tell you when I was younger, like maybe like 10, 11, 12, I thought I was like a horror book badass with my Fear Street and Goosebumps, you know.
Oh,
And,
well.
Then I tried to read Stephen King's It and was so terrified I couldn't sleep for a month and a half. So, and I would say this is right in line, if not more disturbing, because it deals.
Oh,
with
it's
it.
it. This
I mean,
is,
it's
I mean,
so
like,
disturbing.
it's-
Not that
Yeah.
it doesn't deal with kids, like, but it's just. Ugh.
I was a Stephen King reader as a teenager, and I definitely would have dug this. In fact, if
Yeah.
anything, I think I would have enjoyed this even more as a teenager. Like this really, Stephen King stuff. It's great, but I think it's starting to disassociate from a more modern teenager. I think their
Yeah,
experience is
this
very
is
different.
like young adult literature gone very wrong.
Yes. Oh God, so well
Like,
put.
they find a house and they have an... Oh, God.
Right.
Like,
Mother, it's literally the Mansions of Madness. Yeah, it's the house itself. It's really interesting. The house itself, it is a character, but it never feels. It feels like the house is just holding everything. Like the house is a character, but I never feel like the house has any intention.
I would
Well,
agree with that.
because, like, I feel like, at least where I am, the only thing the house really does is choose, like, who it is revealing its secrets to.
That's true.
And that's an important choice, but it's pretty much it. After that, like, the house doesn't
It's just
stop
free will.
anything from happening. Like, the house isn't like, I'm gonna step in and take the key away from the bad guy.
Nope.
Like, not gonna happen.
Do we ever find out why that well is where it is and why they have that? Like, do we ever get to find out more about
I
the well?
am not answering your question.
God damn it.
Everything will be told in time, my friend Taliesin.
I'll know by Friday. I'll have like.
You're gonna be in another country.
I'm gonna be on an airplane for many
Oh,
hours.
you'll have lots of time to read.
So I know I'm supposed to sleep 6 or 7 of those hours, but it still leaves like 4 or 5 hours to read.
So what you're saying is it is bedtime reading. You're gonna wake up on a plane with Locke and Key nightmares.
Oh,
With
that's
nightmares, yeah, totally.
if I used to read Stephen King on an airplane, I will read my Lock and Key. It'll be great.
Yeah, Page Runner says, "Ooh, I would have devoured this as
Yeah.
a teenager."
It's great.
I devoured it as a 20-something, so I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Would you have wanted it like perfect length? Wanted more, wanted less? Like we want things to go on forever, but
No, I think it's kind of the perfect length. Like the story wrapped up when it should have wrapped up. I feel like if it went longer, because normally I am just give me more.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have drug it out, and I like what they've done now with like a couple years later release an issue and give us more about that world, but leaving this story
let the story
intact.
be done.
Yeah.
I've been amazed by the pacing of it, where like the story is always moving forward, but it also doesn't like it's neither too fast nor too slow. Like you don't like get lost on side stuff, but you also don't go so ruthlessly forward that I, as a reader, get kind of mad about missing so much. Like, you know, because things do change. You pick up in new volumes and you're like, when did that happen? But like it's all part of the story.
Yeah.
Like they moved you to the next thing that you need to know.
Right.
Like one of those that I loved was I'm just gonna say the issue is called February. I can't see how that would be a spoiler.
Nope.
But like it's great. And I like it set off that thing of me where I was like, I would read an entire issue about everything that's happening between that and that, but like that's not what needs to happen.
Right.
You're telling me what needs to happen, and it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, Chad, if it just seems like we're gushing. but
they're mostly
so
making
good.
really bad key puns right now.
Yeah,
Oh, that's great.
Good.
Keep
Yeah.
and Matt's not here for it.
Yeah.
No, he's and they're asking if this is a Lock and Key party. There's like a lot of bad jokes in
Fair,
there.
fair.
Yeah, or this was like there's been so many that I can't
Speaking
even
of
keep up
terrible
with it.
contributions, we are going to want a topic at some point today.
I've seen a few run.
We get to do a 5-minute topic towards the end of the show, so please be sending in those suggestions.
I have to sleep on the plane. There's people are like, please sleep on the plane. I'm like, I actually have to.
You will.
Oh yeah, no, I will. I was also people are also asking like when do these books take place? Like, do you get a sense of time? And there's some time jumping around in this. They call it now and then.
I want to say that the story takes place when the books were written.
In the early 2000s.
Between like 2007 and 2000.
Yeah, I could be
something like
wrong on that if someone wants to Google fact check.
There's not a ton of cell phone that I've picked up on, but like there's not a ton of phoning, and it's also in that weird northeastern Stephen King horror county where like people just don't have phones for reasons that are baffling. I'm not saying that people up there don't, but like
it's like plot things would be different if they had them, or at least it didn't stand out to me. Because you know how sometimes you read or watch things and you're like, cell phone.
Yeah.
It just feels like they don't really have to be there, and so they just don't really come up very often.
Right.
It's like
They're
circa 2010, but they started in 2007, so it can't really be. You do get some flashbacks to different periods of time. It's so interesting because I'd love to. Where are you from?
I'm originally from the suburbs of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
You're closer than either of us to.
Where are you guys? So you're LA, right?
I'm born and raised.
Yep.
A couple different places: Northern California, North Carolina, and some short stints in other places, but never the Northeast.
Oh, okay.
I lived in New York when I was a tiny baby, but you
don't really remember.
Yeah, we moved when I was like 5.
Okay.
And 4 or 5, I don't know, whatever. I was very small. So this sense of very distinct regional, northeastern New England.
Yeah.
Is Massachusetts New England?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. It's painted very vividly.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I would be curious to hear from someone who knows that, to be like, which parts rang true. They get, it's not a main focus of the book, but they get into sort of local issues and conflicts between different groups of people in those towns, and it's background stuff, but it was interesting to me. And
you know what's funny? To me, it didn't stick out as them trying to do anything. I was just like, oh yeah, that's life. Yeah. So maybe that rings true to what it actually was, because I grew up in a town called Schwenksville in Pennsylvania, very small town.
That's a great name.
Woods and a creek and one bank, it was that. And this just, it felt normal. Nothing stuck out as what it shouldn't be.
Yeah, and it's small. There are computers and there's the internet. They have it and it shows up on occasion, but it's not really. Yeah, it's mid 2000s, I guess, is the vibe I get from this book.
Mm. Yeah, it seems there's nothing about it that couldn't make it present day.
Yeah,
I felt. Wait, you're not skipping ahead. You're
no,
only
this is.
looking at stuff
I'm
you've
only looking
read,
at stuff
right?
I've already read.
Okay.
Oh, that part.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
fine,
yeah.
we're fine.
She makes bad decisions.
Lost geographer in chat said, to be honest, cell reception isn't that great outside of cities anyway, and true.
Because if you had good cell reception, you couldn't have horror movies up there anymore.
That's true.
Well, and it's weird because I would never want to say it it's not meant in a patronizing way, but I think it's fascinating that someone from literally Chile is delivering what seems to be a pitch perfect Massachusetts. I know artists are very talented and they draw things that they don't know all the time, but I just reserve the right to be impressed.
The only thing that I would say that would be very different from rural Pennsylvania is, of course, the caves and that aspect of it. I would have not
beautiful
had in
caves.
Pennsylvania. But looking at the art on the pages, I fully believed that was Lovecraft. Mm. Yeah. Fully believed it. Totally
the teenagers at some point go into the caves and they've have the tagging in the caves, and it's really you can it's oh man.
But the caves have a history that you get different pieces of. That's sort of here's what would be going on in this landscape at different points of time.
Right.
It's
again because you find out very quickly in volume 1 that you're not really coming in at the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
And so you get pieces of the story from all different times as they want to tell them to you.
As is necessary for your enjoyment.
Right, very well said.
Oh man, there's so much happens. Oh God, that's
yeah,
the key
you're
I
in
can't
for
mention.
a treat on your flight.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be a problem. Oh man, yeah. Oh God, here's the cave. I love the cave. It's beautiful. I can show this. I don't feel like this is not a spoiler.
We've said that there is a cave. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that has such a resonance for me as a teenager because we had Fuller Canyon that we would hang out. I mean, like I'm sure
that's
you've been
so
up there.
cool.
And it's the same thing where we're like,
You're like several of these danger kids.
well, and like Fuller
Not the
Canyon.
really scary ones, but
Every teen, I mean, like there was other. I assume, I don't know why I'm assuming most people had this, but we definitely like Fuller Canyon is this Runyon Canyon is what proper people call
Runyon
it.
Canyon.
But you know that there's
Fuller Canyon, but
I
it
just
is off
nodded like
Fuller,
that was
so
real. I
that
don't
totally
know.
makes sense.
well, and it's all those mansions that have been bulldozed that used to be a bunch of private houses and mansions.
Really?
And so if you go up Runyon and go off the beaten path, suddenly there's a pool that's just empty, or like
Terrifying.
a tennis house, or like tennis courts that have been grown over for 30 years, and or like little basements that just exist, or just hearths and fireplaces that are just trees are growing out of. Have you never been up? Oh man.
I have been up Runyon like a million times, but I never went off the path.
Do you ever do the west side of the? Do you do the south side or the north
I
side?
do the south side.
You should. Do you know that little dog park at the bottom? And there's like you just go off.
Where they
to
do
the-
free yoga on Saturdays.
That would be the one. You go. Wow. Yeah, you go.
How very LA of us.
You just kind of go off the beaten path a little bit, and like suddenly you just find the remains of old mansions. It's really intense, and like oh,
Terrifying.
Oh yeah,
and
teenagers.
also awesome.
It was such a teenage thing. It was like going up there, and it's all tagged to all hell and broken glass
I
everywhere.
wish I could have been friends with you as a teenager.
yeah, I
So-
love that you assume we all did this.
I mean,
That's way cooler than what I did as a
Yep.
teenager.
I assume every town has like some weird place where all the teenagers hang out, because like I did that also my year in Colorado, found a weird place where all the teenagers hang out. So
I didn't.
oh
have
man,
any friends as a
I was
teenager.
apparently
I think
a bad
we
kid.
may not have been very cool.
yeah.
I didn't think I was very cool. I was going to these places because I needed
That's
to get
what
away
truly
from the
cool
other
people
kids.
didn't think they were cool, but we're actually
But
cool.
we're actually cool. Yeah, my friends were like, "Cheers, that was a great mathletes match. Let's all go home
Yeah.
and play video games at our separate houses." That was my high school experience.
We had
They
the
had just
creepy
invented
egg yard in
networking, so there
Colorado.
was one game we could play together.
I didn't have games we could play together. My
No,
games
me
were
neither.
solo experiences.
Descent had a thing where you could direct dial their house.
I
their
remember
modem.
that.
It was a revelation.
I got tagged by that fly. That
I know.
It's a mean fly.
It's massive.
We should
was,
deal with it.
I heard we were talking about spooky things and was like, I need to get in on that episode and just land on faces. What is this, Westworld? Come on.
That always freaks me out.
So, how did you get started with comics in general? Like what?
So, you know what's funny? Thank you for asking that question. Amy actually briefed me that this question
my
was
fave.
going to come up. And I'm so glad that you did, because I had like 3 different answers.
Ooh.
Yeah. So,
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah, so I guess the furthest back I told you originally was I was like, oh, because when Buffy ended, I got into the Buffy and Spike comics because I wanted the story to continue. But then I thought about it since talking to you about that, and I was like, actually, when I was even younger than that, I discovered the Archie comics in my grandmom's drawer. So Archie comics back in the day, and then no comics for a long time.
Hold up.
And then Spike and
You glossed over the headline there. What? Your grandmother kept Archie comics in her drawer?
so
Actually, good point.
So yes,
What?
This is okay. So my last name Hershberger is Pennsylvania Dutch.
It's the best last name.
And so my grandmom is my Pennsylvania Dutch grandmom. So like lived on a farm, best baking you'll ever have in your life, like hairnet, full thing. And yeah, Archie comics it was Archie comics and like Shirley Temple paper dolls. That's what existed at grandma's house. But because they're
love your
Pennsylvania
grandmother.
Dutch, electronics was not a thing that were widely supported in that house. So it was like if I went to visit grandma's house, we weren't watching TV all day. So it was like, better find something else to do. So like I'd find Nancy Drew books and like just all this other stuff to discover at grandma's house. But Archie comics,
So who's
I love your grandmother.
I don't know.
They were your grandmother's
Probably
comics.
one of my aunts and uncles growing up would be my guess. But yeah, they were sitting in there, and so I got to read a lot of those. So I do watch Riverdale. It's a guilty pleasure.
I'm-
Don't judge.
But I mean, how
No,
do
no. Riverdale's great.
Okay, thank you.
Riverdale's
There's a lot of
great.
people that write it off as like teenage soap opera, and I'm like, it isn't. It's fine.
It is.
I'm
It's
okay with it.
wonderful.
those are the two sides of it.
Yeah, it absolutely
I
is.
like it a lot. Okay.
Teenage soap
I
opera.
always wanted to be Veronica. like I mean, she's kind of an asshole sometimes.
I always want to
but
be Cheryl Blossom, so I feel that. So.
I mean, that red lipstick, though.
I know. I have the spider pin brooch. I love it so much. I wear it all the time.
That's amazing.
Every time I am in a Hot Topic and I see all the Riverdale stuff, I'm like, I just wouldn't buy it all.
I
But
almost bought the
resist.
Serpent's jacket a little while ago, but I'm
was
not
so
cool.
good.
I'm not cool enough to be
It's a
Jughead.
cool replica.
I'm not cool enough to be Jughead.
It's a cool replica
I know.
jacket, just saying.
We're going that way.
So anyway,
I'm
yes.
convinced your grandmother was actually reading the Archies during baking. Like that's what she did for like. I can see her playing with the paper dolls and reading Archie when you were all not there.
I mean, maybe.
I already love your grandmother. I'm so.
She's like, I'm just making the best gooseberry pie you've ever had. That's what are Betty and Veronica up to?
She do a rhubarb and then I'm.
My grandmom's 102 and still kicking it. Shout out to Grandma.
shit.
Love you. Cool, right?
Wow, that is impressive.
Right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It is one of the things that I really love is that a lot of times we talk to folks, not necessarily in the show, but like at the shop, I do this all the time where people will be like, I'm not really into comics. And the more you talk to them, and they'll be like, except this comic strip that I love, and this book that the series my friend got me hooked on in school, and also this, and it's just like, you already love comics.
Right.
It's just we don't do a great job of making it easy for people to put those pieces together and find their next favorite thing.
Absolutely. Well, that's because my original answer is I was like, I guess New 52, Wonder Woman, because I feel like I got into comics later, and by that I mean like DC Marvel, actually reading DC Marvel comics. But yeah, then when I look back at it, I'm like, well, no, that's not true because Buffy, the Buffy comics, the Spike comics, the Archie comics, like the further I go back, I can find comics that I totally read and enjoyed immensely. Yay! I'm just curious, what were your first comics? Do you guys know?
I don't know what my no, I don't know what my first comic was.
It's a hard question.
I didn't start reading American comics until I was a little older. I was into Japanese comics before I was into American comics, so.
Oh, we got a
That's right.
shout out from off camera. Love it.
Woo. I don't even see where that woo came from. That was a good woo.
Woo!
Oh, all right, over there. Yeah, I was really into like Ramo and Half and Urusei Yatsura. Urusei Yatsura might have been like I had a few, but like
It was
I was a late adopter.
It's funny because like I can't say for sure. Like I know Archie's just always been there. That's always been a thing. And like newspaper comics, which are part of the broader picture, like we're obviously
It's true.
Especially like real golden age when we were kids. Not that there isn't great work being done now. That very surrealist. What is it? Nancy right now that's on having a super rad. I'm blanking on this. One of the classic strips has just had a new writer artist come on, and it's sort of like just slightly surrealist and like self-aware.
No way, it's Nancy.
Oh.
Really?
Have you seen just this? Okay, panel out of context. Sluggo is lit. Okay, hold on.
Nope, go for it.
Wow, we've
Yep,
never
it
had
is
this
set
happen
up.
before. This is the first time I've never actually seen you like break to the internet. Like this is exciting. I did remember, and I think I've told the story before. It was my first American comic was the Neil Gaiman Alice Cooper crossover book.
Whoa.
Because I was walking by the Golden Apple, and the owner of the Golden Apple at the time, who was like, I can only describe Bill. He was a great man and did wonderful things for me, but he kind of looked like a retired mob boss.
Okay.
This was like, kid, you read comics? And he was just sitting outside. I'm like, I don't know. He's come on in. And then he just shoved me to the front of this autograph line and got me I think he just gave me a like I cut like a 2-hour line, and he was like, got Neil and Alice Cooper to sign a book for me. He's like, there you go. Now you read comics. And went back to his yo-yo. I'm like,
Turns out he was right.
oh yeah, no, I was a customer. I was a customer of his till the day he died. I was like, yeah. It's like,
Awesome. Awesome.
It was so Archie, newspaper comics, all that stuff. My aunt and uncle like had been stationed in Germany at one point, and they brought back a bunch of Asterix in German.
Okay.
Which is a French comic, so that's weird. But
I just
like,
recently got into. Good stuff.
oh, it was great stuff, and it's great. Like it's great for all ages, but it's great for a kid brain because there's a lot of visual gags, and like I didn't speak German, so I was just figuring out the story from the pictures. But it's classic cartooning, and you can do
Beautiful.
that. It's this comedy basically in like a town of Gauls that's fighting off the Romans, in like so they have like weird potions that give them superpowers, and everybody's name is a pun.
Sounds
and they're always
great.
getting into trouble, and it's great.
Everyone's like, Nancy's has gotten really interesting, by the way.
Yeah, no, they're all on this train with me.
Oh shit!
It's Olivia James is writing and drawing.
Oh no, you're gonna make me read Nancy, aren't you?
yeah, we are.
No, what's gonna happen to my life?
Let's see. It was on Labor Day. So that, and then I saw the X-Men animated show. Got super hooked. It took a little, like a couple of years before I wandered.
did a lot
I was
of
in a
things.
shop for like Star Trek stuff, and I was like, "What is this?" And I took home some X-Men comics, and it was that and manga like alternating into the rest of junior high, and the rest of my life was over. So that just happened.
And we were
But,
just, I was, because we were looking up Gabriel, while you're looking at it, Gabriel Rodriguez, the artist from Locke
please.
Key. And I found out that he also, for IDW, the only other like big comic book credit I could find was he was one of the artists, on the New Adventures of Little Nemo.
I need to read that.
Like,
I
what
forgot
the hell?
they did that.
And then I had to be impressed at you about that. And you're like, I was like, that's one of the oldest running, not continually, but like, Little Nemo is a comic book that first issue was printed in 1905.
Yeah, we looked it up, 1905.
I'm like,
One of the
Crazy.
foundational works, one of the first ones to do like
beautiful.
surrealist stuff with comics. Like it set a pattern. It's been imitated 1,000 times. You've seen the style everywhere, and it's a big task for any modern creator to be like, I'm gonna do a new Nemo.
I'm going to do some Little Nemo.
I'm gonna write myself a Shakespeare play. And it's like, well, you know, we encourage you to
Hamlet
try.
2.
Yeah. Except like Gabriel Rodriguez might be, if anyone can.
I
pull it
saw a
off.
little bit of the art and I was like,
You were intrigued. Yeah.
yeah, Nemo's a tough act to deal with, but it's a beautiful. I know we're going to cover it eventually, but like, and I'm sure we'll
need
bust some of his stuff out.
Editions we can get.
I'm working on it. Not like 1905 editions, but I'm working on getting some because we want to do a.
Okay, I got to figure out how to make this big, but like.
I love that
So
everyone loves
there had
Asterix.
been. I'm not 100% sure what's going on behind the scenes, but I know somebody new took over Nancy, and then there was like weird backlash to her like creations, and I think now she's sort of leaned into the fact that like people sort of being like, we don't want you to modernize Nancy, and she's just like, oh yeah, get ready.
So just going full throttle with it.
So
Are we doing this for everybody, or
I'm. What's the best way to do this?
We can put it up on the screen, and then we can read it if it's reasonable to be
One
read.
of the things is that like she's included occasional gags that reference modern technology, and there's a side character that she drew in a different way that like, and who knows how many people this really was, but at least some people when this happened were like, I'm no longer attracted to this side character in Nancy.
Okay.
Like a real human somewhere felt that objection was worth sharing with the internet.
Somewhere
Great.
Meat came up with that idea.
And so, like, with all of that as context,
Glad everyone
here is
understands it, too.
her response for Labor Day. Would you want to read it before we turn it around, or?
You know what?
No, turn it around.
Turn
We'll
it
all
around.
read it
I will.
together.
Cool.
Experience this with the audience. I'm excited.
Nancy for September 3rd, 2018.
Okay.
I don't know if we can zoom in.
Oh yeah, we can. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Artist note: it's Labor Day, so I'm taking the day off. Instead of a new comic, please enjoy this sneak peek at panels that will be appearing in upcoming strips. Sluggo is lit. She's got a selfie stick on him.
And then side character, and that's why I'm only wearing snowsuits from now on.
And then phones.
And then just one more.
All the Sluggo's lit. What
Wow.
on earth? What the living hell?
This was published. This is the actual Nancy comic strip.
Yeah, Nancy got real weird, huh?
Oh my God.
And it's so hard to explain, but like it's
They let
so
Mike Diva
perfect.
write Nancy. What the
And
fuck is
now, when people are confronted with the unbearable strangeness of 2018, they have taken to just posting the panel.
Oh, I want
Sluggo
a
is
shirt.
lit.
I just want a shirt with Sluggo with that
Because
panel
it's-
on it.
Like she's doing it on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And it's but she has created a perfect parody of tone deaf modernization, which is also poking fun at people who object to changes at the same time.
It's
and
so good.
stands alone as just bizarreness for its own sake and works as a basic joke of like, it's Labor Day, so I took the day off, here's some random nonsense. That's a classic setup. Like that's
Right.
doing its job at one level. It's just also doing 18 other things.
That's
How?
so
Olivia James
so good. Oh my God, that's so good.
has got us all talking about Nancy.
pretty
Oh
funny.
man, I know. We
No, how do we skew to Nancy?
I don't know. I was
Maybe your first
prepared for tangents
Maybe
today.
like
What?
Sluggo is lit.
I think I need a shirt with that on. I
Yeah.
think I need a shirt with Sluggo is lit and oh my God, I'm sure she sells it. I'm sure she's smart enough to know.
I hope that they like.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that's going on. Thank you for helping us process the times we
Yep.
live in, Art.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you, Art, once again for everything you do. Oh my God, I'm reading one more.
So fun.
So it went from like a lot of manga, a lot of X-Men comics, and then basically Vertigo happened to me.
Okay.
And that was
As it will.
Sandman, Why the Last Man, all this stuff like that I discovered sort of long form, which
Yeah.
this should have been on the list years ago because it's one of these. The comics market had to get to a point where it could support telling one sustained story with a consistent creative team over a couple of years, and like we got there. Yay! I'm excited about that.
At some point, I kind of want to read.
Are you
today's
reading more Nancy?
Today's Nancy is really good.
Okay,
I'm
let's
so
do it.
sorry. I am skewing this entire episode because today's Nancy is,
I mean, Locke
is
and
amazing.
Key, Nancy.
I know. This is it. Weirdly,
Similar thematically.
it weirdly connects nicely. Are you two wearing matching costumes because you're twins?
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lucy is dressed as a classic slow zombie, while I'm a fast zombie from movies of the modern era.
But how are people supposed to tell you apart?
What was that?
I said
Nice.
I mean, like I don't know why I love that. I love that.
Great.
I'm reading Nancy now. This is what's happened in my life.
This is actually funny. We
Oh my
should
God.
have an entire Nancy episode, and just because there's some interesting different eras, like the early phases of this comic were actually pretty interesting. And I have a book that I took home but I haven't read, and I needed an excuse to sit with. It's an entire academic book called How to Read Nancy. They took one example strip from the 50s, and they were like, we're going to see if we can tell you about every tool in a cartoonist's tool belt based on one Nancy strip.
How did it go?
Apparently enough to fill an academic book that looks really good.
But like, is it a good book or is it kind of a disaster?
I will tell you when I'm done.
Okay.
But I'm fascinated by, like, it sounds like a joke premise that maybe they were then like, oh, actually, we can talk about timing here, we can talk about line work here, we can talk about,
Wow.
but it's literally about one Nancy. Like,
Wow.
I love that we've
sounds
had
absurd.
this amazing segue about a comic strip with a character on a Segway. It just there's so many segues.
Sluggo was lit. He should just be the wipe.
Yeah.
Like, she should just be the wipe whenever we're changing scenes. We will pay you monies for that, Olivia James. We assume that's probably what we would need to do.
There would probably have to be some monies involved. I can't process this. This
They're
is,
comics. They
is-
have come in
Comics.
very
Oh.
many forms.
You know what's funny? Well, if we're going to talk about Nancy in the great long ago times and comics that are like smaller comics as opposed to like big old comics, Far Side comics. I read Far Side comics back in the day,
that's fair.
Genius.
right?
So why do we never count strips when we talk about this? Like
Right.
I mean, like I guess I understand why, but
We should more. There aren't real boundaries. Like they've grown up in different traditions, and people have tended to be influenced by one or the other. But like some of the best artists draw from both. Like we just talked about with the Sparrow issue. It's like that is a distinct reference to comic strip history.
Right.
But it's just another form of cartooning. It just works under different constraints.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Sparrow, it's the storytelling, but I know you had mentioned too Calvin and Hobbes, a lot of artistic inspiration.
Yeah.
in
One of the
Locke
volumes
Key.
was dedicated to Bill Watterson.
Yes.
and apparently not to drag it back to Locke and Key too hard. Apparently there was a Calvin and Hobbes issue of Locke and Key.
Yeah, that's what.
It's
that's what
part of what we're talking about. Yeah.
Because I haven't gotten there yet, so I can't even imagine.
know it when
I
it gets
can't even
there.
imagine.
It's fine.
You will. So, Chat, I'll
Segue.
take your help with this too. But I was asking Amy and Taliesin, for me, when I read Locke and Key, I loved it so much that I've been hard-pressed to find another comic series that brings me in and just gets me to the point where I can't do anything else except for read this comic. Since then, like I jokingly say that Locke and Key ruined comics for me because I have not loved anything else as much since. So what do you recommend to me? So I will say the closest thing that I've hit on so far to kind of give you another like sample of my comic palette, if you will, is Fables.
Nice.
Because again, I like the like fantasy but super dark elements.
I have a couple. I'm going to ask you some of my standard questions really
Ooh, I like
quickly.
it.
And people in chat, anybody who's met me in chat who's asked me this question at a convention, this is normally my response.
Okay.
What do you watch on Netflix? Like what are your favorite kind of
watch
movies? Do you
on
watch horror
Netflix?
movies? Are you like comedies? Are you a
Okay.
binge Parks and Rec?
Well, so not Netflix specifically,
No.
but Game of Thrones,
Cool.
True Blood, Handmaid's Tale, Black Mirror, Atypical.
Okay, so you like me. You
Riverdale.
You like despair and overpassionate, you like teen angst, a little bit of like oversexed teenagers, a little bit of sadness.
A little bit of YA with a mix of fantasy.
I'm into that. All right.
Monstrous?
Monstrous
I've
could be
never heard
fun.
of Monstrous.
It's still in progress. There's 3 volumes out.
Okay.
Very high fantasy.
Okay.
It's the artist is Sana Takeda. The writer is Marjorie Liu. She comes from novels, but
won
she's done
every
a ton of
award
comic
ever.
stuff. They've been sweeping the awards, and it's amazing. It is very dark.
Okay.
It's sort of there's like a lot of world building in the background. Like we are initially following someone who sort of got wrapped up into this giant conflict between civilizations, and everyone is super damaged by it. But there's also like, it is hard to describe. Let's pull up some art.
Okay, cool.
I'll also say, like, you might enjoy, because it's coming out on Netflix anyway, but Chilling Adventures of Sabrina could be a fun one.
There is a horror take on Sabrina in comics.
Okay.
They've been doing honest to God Archie horror.
Yeah.
The first one was Afterlife with Archie.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite memories is discovering collectively that worked, and it should not have worked. But they did an Archie comic where basically like a serious zombie invasion comes to Riverdale. And
I would get that. Yes.
my
All of the
grown
Archie books right
adult
now are great.
coworkers
Okay.
cried over one of these issues.
Paper
Okay.
Girls got kicked through the chat as an interesting read if you like the Stranger
Okay.
Things kind of
Same
vibe.
artist
Oh, I
from-
do. I watch Stranger Things. Yeah.
It's the artist from New 52 Wonder Woman.
Oh.
Working with Brian Vaughn.
Okay.
It starts out with sort of
Paper
like
Girl?
it's Paper Girls, and it starts out following sort of 4 80s teens
I'm just
on
pulling
bikes.
up my Comixology wish list. Don't mind.
Yeah. And then it gets real weird.
And like we threw Wicked and Divine at Trisha before the show.
I
because
would
we
be
had that
curious
conversation.
if you've said you've read pieces of it, but just for our audience's sake, Sandman is a pick that I would recommend. Like, if you can deal with the fact that different artists will be part of telling the story.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's all Neil Gaiman, but he's chosen his collaborators really well. So I find it great, but it also, like, there are folks, especially, it starts out very 80s, but if you love the fact that you're going to get to the end of this and be like, oh my God, all the clues were there. Like, Sandman sneaks up on you that way and becomes operatic and epic.
Yeah, it starts very baseline and slowly it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it has some very good horror moments, and again, more issues that give me nightmares. I love some good despair.
It's going to take a while before we have like the nice, full, complete story of it. But have you checked out Bitch Planet?
No. Okay. Then.
It is Margaret Atwood crossed with an exploitation film. It's in a future prison for unruly women, basically.
Bitch Planet.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's not fantasy.
It's unlimited. It's in Comixology
Yes.
Unlimited.
I love doing this to
everyone.
people.
They didn't sponsor us, but they're welcome to.
Yes, anytime. Time travel.
Okay, got that.
Monstrous.
Ooh, I like the look of that. You know what else this is completely off topic from the type of, like, I would say the genre that we're in right now, but the other comic I've been meaning to read, what is the name of it? It's Jessica Jones' friend Patty's comic.
Patsy
Patsy Walker Hellcat.
Yes,
So,
that's on my list as
very
well.
different tone, but
Very different tone.
extremely
Wow,
lovable.
could not get a more different tone. We tried.
But so good. That's by our buddy Kate Leth, and she's great. With Brittany Williams, I believe is her name.
Hellcat is lit.
Incredible artist.
Hellcat's so lit.
Hellcat is lit.
It's never going away.
I know. It's just going to
It's
stay
in my
your head
head.
because it's a perfect piece of art that
it's-
sums up our times while being stupid.
How is this not a meme? How is this not a meme that
It's
has like just
become a
invaded
meme.
my brain?
What? You
Oh,
look
God.
out for it now. You're going to see some Sluggo is lit.
It's so old, I've missed the meme.
And DC Bombshells is just a line of figures, right? They haven't actually.
No, they have a book.
It is an entire alternate World War II version of the DC universe.
Ah!
Marguerite Bennett wrote it. She's
Thank
got
you.
an all-star series of artists she's been working with.
It's a comic. It's a comic book. Literally the subtitle for it is "Cosplayers, You're Welcome."
Yeah, right?
So, and the thing is that I was
Good
going
stuff,
to
guys.
read it anyway, but I will be honest and say that my expectations going
Were
in
low.
when I heard that they were making a series based on the designs they came up with for alternate covers, I was like, that's not necessarily the setup for a rich and nuanced multi-part epic.
Every now and
I
then.
was wrong. It's
Okay.
great.
It's great.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah, my
Awesome sauce.
expectations were extremely low.
And it's very DC Universe. They're gonna throw a lot of this person, but in a different version. But like, it's
Sure.
just fun to read.
It's
I'm okay with that.
super
Yeah.
fun. It's super
I'm fine.
super fun.
I'm fine with that. Okay, these are great. Thank you guys
Yeah.
so
No, it's-
much. I'm
we
so
have to come. You
excited
come
now.
back and be like, which of the suggestions
I
worked?
know.
I know, like,
Part
and
two.
like, chat is throwing so many other things. Harrow
Ooh.
County and like.
Oh, I need to read Harrow County. I hear it's amazing.
Oh, Mouse Guard?
Mouse Guard is a good
Mouse
a kid's
Guard is
book.
beautiful.
It's a,
Is
it's a
it?
beautiful,
I-
beautiful.
I need to
well,
read more Mouse
kidsy.
Guard.
It's kidsy. We have witches. I mean, like, yeah, people have got a lot of. There's been some amazing.
Do you know how much of a hard time I have been having trying to get a hard copy of Fables Volume 2?
Ooh, is that
Everybody
right now?
has Fables Volume 1. Every store,
See,
every
normally,
booth at
I have the exact
Comic-Con.
opposite problem.
But no one's got Volume 2. And for a while, see, this is how you know we're not sponsored by Comixology. For a while, I was super anti-digital comics. Like, I was like, if I can't get it in my hand and read it as I'm laying in bed, I don't want it. And so I like, devoured Volume 1 of Fables and then was like, well, I guess I'm not getting the rest of the story because everywhere I go, I can't find Volume 2. But then you just go digital.
I'm logging
at
in
some
right now
point.
to make sure that number 2 is still in print.
I-
'Cause there are
Gotham
times
City
where
Garage
they'll
is
have
a lot
a
of
new
fun.
edition of stuff coming out, and they'll sort of like the old ones will stop being available for a while they work on the new versions, and it's like, guys, you got to make enough so we don't run out.
Can
You
I
want
also-
people to
Thank-
read
Can
things.
I also throw a shout out to Knights of the Dinner Table?
Oh. Wow.
Taking it way back and weird.
Oh, tell the people about Knights of the Dinner.
Knights of the Dinner Table is a comic about D&D.
From the late 90s, when there weren't a lot of those.
Yes, and I remember,
Yes.
there's your Sluggo as
Thank you, Jody Hauser,
It's a thing
for the
that
Sluggo
exists.
shirt. That was that fast.
But yeah, Knights of the Dinner Table was great for me when I
love
was in
them.
high school and the only girl in my D&D group to find a comic about a D&D group with only one girl. So I just, yeah, that was real fun in high school.
It's still going, but it was one of those like.
still going?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
my God.
It was a foundational one for me. It was one of the first times that I was like, they make comics about people like us.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever read Dork Tower?
No.
Because Gilly the
Please
Quirky
tell me it's
Nerd
Dark
is
Tower, but
it's just like a general slice of lifey nerd life
but it's
thing.
good.
But it's called Dork Tower,
great.
and like
Putting it in, let's see if it's in here.
Oh, man.
there is a character called Jilly
Nimona.
the Perky Goth that like people. Had you run into this in high school, you would have been like, oh, look, she literally just looks like you dressed up as a Perky Goth.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
Man, the
I'm
recommendations
into
are
it.
so good.
I don't see Dark Tower. I actually did not know that Dark Tower was a graphic novel.
So I
They've
haven't
made
actually.
a graphic novel of Dark Tower.
They did a huge number of adaptations. What's interesting about those is that Marvel did them with Jay Lee on art.
Which is perfect for, I mean, like,
Okay.
And an acclaimed writer like working on the adaptations. I haven't read them because I never did Dark Tower. People loved them though.
I love the Dark Tower books.
Then they went out of print, and now they've just been relisted with a new company, so the rights must have moved. But I think they're coming into print again.
Okay.
But they did like a ton. They did The Gunslinger Born, The Long Road Home,
Yeah.
something about treachery. These titles may mean stuff to Dark Tower people, and I need to go there at some point.
Okay.
Because
You
I
do.
actually never did Stephen King.
Okay.
I never had a King face.
Okay.
So this is kind of new
this
for
was,
me.
didn't we just
You're
have this,
welcome.
It's great.
Didn't we just have the Stephen King conversation during the Tiny Train to Ghost Town?
Maybe.
Was that the evening of the? Okay, just checking.
Yeah, I was very hot and cold with Stephen King because as a kid I was like, I'm gonna love Stephen King, and then I was so horrified after the first chapter of it that like for years I was like, nope, not for me. No, thank you. I'm too precious for that. And then I got really into books that were not so blatantly horror, like the Dark Tower series and stuff like that. And am now falling back into a Stephen King phase. Although now that I'm like brave enough to read the books, and then I'm like, I'm going to see the movies. I don't love the movie adaptations. as
No,
much
he
as the
doesn't.
books.
He doesn't adapt well.
Right.
He does not
Which
adapt well.
then, that.
Interesting. He's like so many of his adaptations are super famous. I haven't seen most of them on
They're-
account
they're-
of not knowing any Stephen King.
The best Stephen King adaptations are the ones where they throw away the book entirely.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, like everyone loves The Shining, but The Shining is not the book at all.
I know. Yes, The Shining is not the book at all, but The Shining is a brilliant movie.
Yeah, like literally it was
never
like
seen The
forget the
Shining.
book.
Shining.
You've never seen The Shining?
How we have so many movies to watch, and I'm such a bad
Yeah.
friend.
Amy,
I'm a-
scary movies like make me poop my pants, so I really can't watch many scary movies. I can't be a horror film nerd because I'm too scared. It's awful, but true.
You can do what the rest of us do: is set the iPad up in the bathroom, and then everything's fine. I'm
What?
sorry, that was too obvious. Yeah.
Right on the
Yeah, no, so you're just there.
No, if I like have to go to the movies with friends to see horror movies, I watch the whole thing like this so that I can, like, I am the worst.
You're fetal.
Yeah, I'm the worst when it comes to scary stuff. But all that to say, I love The Shining.
Nice.
That's a movie I will repeat watch, even with my crazy.
I even have a few like crazy theories of it that I love. I don't necessarily
Ooh.
believe, but I love. I love some of that stuff.
Yes, let's grab coffee.
But no,
and
we
talk
could.
about
Oh
it.
yeah, no, we could.
Fables
we
Volume
could
2
do
is on
that.
a temporary back order. Very sorry.
Oh.
Yes, I can't get it anywhere. I have talked to many a comic book shop owner, and I just walk in. My husband knows now. He actually looked for it for me for my birthday. He knows that anytime we go into a comic shop, the first thing I will do is walk up to the person at the desk and say, "Hey, do you have Fables Volume 2?" And they always are so lovely to look for me, and they never, ever have it. Even like
All right.
the whole side of Comic-Con, that whole side that's all comics, every booth. Hey, you have Fables Volume 2? No, okay, next. Nobody.
Challenge accepted. So we are looking for Fables Volume 2 for you.
Fables Volume 2.
Well,
please.
all right. Well, all right.
We'll find it. We'll find it.
Have you been to the Iliad?
I have been to the Iliad.
Have you looked for Fables Volume
I
2?
didn't know that they have comics.
They have a weirdly great comic book collection.
Really?
They're all used. So they're
And
super
because
cheap.
they're buying from collections, you're not going to have the same limitations. That's the only reason that my shop, I'm going to check, but we might have it, and if we do, it's because we bought somebody's collection. Like,
Okay. I was going to say last time I was in your shop,
No,
it
Joy?
was not
I
there.
have a. It'll never
been a
happen. It'll never happen. But I have a dream of doing this show remote from the Iliad at some point, just so people can see the greatest traditional bookstore Los
love
Angeles
it.
has to offer.
I love it.
But
Yep.
they would probably never let us film there.
So thank you everyone for all these brilliant suggestions. You guys are amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you
and like
so much.
everyone's now doing the. Okay, I think she's got enough to read now. It's been really cute.
I have a lot to read, and reading time is a precious commodity in my life right now.
I don't know
because
how
am a
you
tiny
handle.
human.
I don't know how any of you tiny human collectors handle that. It's such an expensive hobby.
collectors?
Yeah, they
mean,
collect tiny
kind of.
humans. Where else do they come from? You get them from the tiny human store, right? Babies are us. That's where
It's
they
a
come
real
from.
rough journey to and from the tiny human store. let me
It's a
tell
long
you
line.
that.
I'm aware it's a long line.
You come back with a whole bunch of scars.
Been for 9 months. So-
But no, it's like there'll be times when I'm like, oh, okay, yep. He's going to bed at like 7:30. Like actually, this is first world nerd problems for sure. But my biggest issue this year is I'm like, I always watch Game of Thrones East Coast time at 6 p.m. so I can like not have things spoiled for me online. But he doesn't go to bed until 8 p.m. and he is of an age where some of those images may be really horrifying.
Oh yeah.
So I'm
Psychos-
totally gonna
Psychos
have to
scarred me for
wait
life.
until West Coast time
Oh, no.
this season.
Oh.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. But yes, people who collect tiny human problems.
Oh yeah.
But same thing with like comics. I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna put him to bed, and then I'm gonna read, and that'll be the night that it doesn't go to bed till 1 o'clock in the morning,
Zoom, 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 zoom.
or like sleeps in my bed, which means that they're like feet in the face every 5 minutes.
I'm very curious because I was also like a Game of Thrones book person. I still haven't actually. Long story short, I've only read as many as were out when I initially got obsessed with it, and need to go back and read the rest of them. So the weird thing is, I was ahead of the show for a while, and then I was not.
Yep.
But like so. With that experience as context, and since we're talking about our desperation for them to adapt this, what
Really
are your thoughts?
Way to bring it back. Way to bring it
What
back.
are your thoughts on like adaptation
Netflix.
in general? Like lifting things. What do you like to see when they make the jump? What frustrates or disappoints you? Like, what are your
Oh wow, what a
Do's and
loaded
don'ts.
question. I like when an adaptation is a separate thing. It's not a complete mirror or a copycat
No.
of the thing we've already seen, because whatever the thing is we've already seen, it was done so well in that medium. That's why it's popular. That's why people love the story and want to adapt it. So it was already done so well, you know, that at that point you're just playing catch up to the success that it already had. But if you can make it its own living thing, that's awesome. But that being said, I don't like when they deviate from the source too much. So it's kind of a catch-22.
It needs to have the spirit of it, and it needs to be the same emotional ride. I don't need a literal.
with that.
I don't need a literal experience. I need an emotional experience. or
Yeah,
something
like
like that.
actually Game of Thrones is a really good example of that, because the TV show and the book, I feel
They're
like
different.
they're very different experiences, but both really well done. And I'm enjoying both of the rides simultaneously. And I think we are in a special position where the book readers were ahead of the story for a while, and then that swapped itself on its head, and now apparently the word on the street is they're both going to end in the same place but take different ways to get there.
Interesting.
But there are some things that I feel like the TV series adaptation does much better than the books do, and there are some things that I feel like the books do a lot
especially
better
the later books.
Than the TV show.
I had seen the first episode. My roommate at the time, Hannah, had all of the books on her shelf, and I had not read them, even though she kept throwing them at me, and I was like,
I will be honest, the first book's kind of hard to get through.
Well, once I saw the first episode, I immediately, I stood up, ran into her room, grabbed the entire shelf, and ran into my room and said, I'll be out in a couple months, excuse me, and just
yeah.
Actually, I think it only took a few weeks for me to get through like the whole, oh man, I had free time.
Yeah.
Fuck happened?
It took me like 3 years to read the first Game of Thrones book. I started and stopped it so many times.
I was independent contractor at the time, so I would have like 9 months of work and then 4 months of nothing.
Of not work.
So like that 4 months, other than answering emails and like doing that, it was just sitting in my room with love. You know?
Yeah.
The life of the independent contractor.
I got hooked on that first one pretty quickly. And
Did
like,
you?
And what was interesting to me making the adaptation was that like the thing that I recognized in the show that felt the same wasn't like, it was like the characters and the setting and all that stuff, but it was like, I remember being really struck by the fact that I was like, here's why this is definitely Game of Thrones. Because the thing I loved about the books is that every time they'd switch perspectives in a new chapter, I'd be mad about it. Because I'd be like, no, keep telling me what happened to that character in the previous chapter.
Right.
And every time I got to the end of a chapter, I'd be mad all over again because now I want to know what's happening in this story.
Yep.
And they could get me over and over and over again to be like angry that you're pulling me away. So those early episodes of the show, I was like, they did it. Because it felt the same, and I watched it like we threw a party, like it was, with people who didn't know these characters, and it was that same like you just get to the point where you can't bear to stop watching this. You need to know what happens, and you're on the next thing.
Yep.
So it was weird because it was like they were adapting the way it felt to read that.
Yes. And I thought they did that really well.
But I do get mad at changes sometimes because sometimes I feel like if you're adapting Pride and Prejudice and you're like, I'm gonna change my mind about who gets married. It's like, okay, just acknowledge you're doing a different thing. Because, and
then I'm like, just title it something different and say it's in the same universe as this thing instead of calling it the exact same thing.
Oh, she married the other boy. It could be Prude in Prejudice. And then you're like, thank you.
You're welcome.
And no, seriously, fuck you, Mr. Darcy. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're no good for nobody. You're no good.
Coldness is a person.
Being cold is not the same as having a personality. It's not.
He learns that by the end. He's just
Hot take.
Hot take, Taliesin. I love it so
Nothing
much.
against Colin Firth. Colin Firth is beautiful.
Colin Firth is lovely.
Mr. Darcy, we've got problems.
We're gonna have a conversation.
Oh yeah.
But yes, if they adapted this, I think the person in me who loves this story would love to see this same story retold, but for television. And there would be some things that TV could not do as well, like we mentioned earlier in our conversation, and there would be some things that TV could do that a graphic novel can't.
What would be like the least spoilery version of something that you'd be like, oh, this I'd love to see moving around up there, which we don't get in here?
I don't know. I would need time to mull that over, and then I would hope that I could get someone to pay me a consulting fee for my brilliant idea.
I think you could play with a lot of the classical film tropes of the 80s and 90s, the same way that Stranger Things is playing with those film tropes.
Stranger Things
This is
so good.
This is another really good palette for that, but a different one where it would be less about making like Stranger Things takes you back in time, whereas I think you could do Locke and Key as a Stranger Things that's happening now, and you could take those things from the past and make them more modern. And I think it would be less of Stranger Things as a throwback. I think this could be a modernization of that genre in a very real way, and it's also. My God, there are 3 child actors waiting to be fucking famous because of this.
To be amazing.
I'm like if I were that age, I was a child. I'm like if I were I would be so all over this as a kid. I would have been so fucking excited.
It's always like, you know, bless the child actors who do really difficult parts, but like, can you imagine being someone's mom and being like, I want you to read for, like, don't know anything that happens.
That's what I was gonna say, like the real dark stuff the kids go out for.
Oh, I loved it as a kid. Like anytime they get I made good money playing very difficult parts, and like I really I was like, I'll cry on camera. I'm into it. Let's do this shit.
No, I mean that's
But is
great.
that a good thing?
And God bless those child
It
actors.
turned out good.
I turned out okay. I mean, like, I turned out okay.
We think.
We're pretty
We think
sure.
Taliesin turned out okay.
They haven't found any of the bodies. So.
Oh.
No, but it was.
too real, Locke
I mean, like,
Key.
and a lot of the kids I knew, I mean, the healthy kids I know, at least say growing up, were definitely like into it. We're like,
Yeah.
give me something weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I get to be like I get to deal with monsters and go. Holy shit, yes! Like, bring
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah, I
would
would
be a
love
whole-
to see. I would love to see the magic imagined
Yeah.
for television and what that would look like.
I think
That'd
like
be really
subtle, low key, a little bit of like Japanese horror. Oh man, there's so much you could do.
There's
What I
so
wouldn't
much.
want them to do is like, you know, stuff that looks clearly magical in the books. I would want to look clearly magical in the things. Like, I
Yeah.
don't need you to be like, here's this, but everything's going to look more realistic. Where it's like, no, it's a story about magic. Let there be magic.
And you have enough
I
room
agree
in
with
here
that.
that you could also spend like, not to give too
It's
much
probably
away.
expensive.
No, I mean, like, that's the funny thing is I mean, these days everything costs what it's going to cost as long as you know what you're shooting. But like, you could play with this for a long time of figuring out whether or not the kids are just playing or whether or not it's really happening, and you could make it fanciful in a way where you're like, is he just having playtime, or is
So almost seeing it from the adult perspective.
yeah? And then it's that moment of, oh no, this shit's really happening. It's not just a kid using his sense of imagination to escape.
Yeah, I just
This is not Winnie the Pooh. This shit's happening.
it would be interesting to see what they did with soundtrack in a television
lot of
show
audio.
because
That
I
would be a
think
cool opportunity.
I think that a lot of the weird dichotomy of Gabriel Rodriguez's like cartoony art style with the dark subject matter you could maybe still get that same feel with like a more fun and childlike soundtrack to
That's
the
a great
show.
idea.
It would be. I mean, the show would all have to be from the kids' perspective. Like you would just
Oh,
just have to play it from the three kids and like following them around.
Yeah, I don't know. I
don't know.
want to see it happen. I want to see it happen so hard. Netflix,
story's all there.
please follow through.
We love you,
Please,
Netflix.
Please,
we love
please,
you.
Please,
Do
They
this
seem
for
to
us.
be in the business of actually doing these. Umbrella Academy's coming, Deadly Class is coming. They're like, they don't seem to be buying things to not do them, but you know, we've thought that before.
Yeah. No. And a million things can go wrong.
Well, as they sometimes do. R.I.P. Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
Yeah. No. We had a.
Did you have
We were talking about that earlier.
pour
yeah.
one out for?
we poured one out for our dear Marvel brethren.
Yeah.
It's okay. We will use their ashes to ferment the earth that the Marvel streaming service will come from. So
I had higher hopes for Luke Cage.
I'm holding out hope
So
that
much more life in that character, and so much more you can do with him.
I really liked season 1.
4 more guest spots on Daredevil is my eternal
Okay.
hope.
Okay. I know. I'm sorry. You guys already
No.
hashed that out. I'm sure.
It was on a
Different
completely
show.
different
We
corner
have-
of the internet.
like,
So
yeah,
I was on a
great.
completely different corner of the internet.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
If you were talking to someone who was like, I don't know about comics and I like this Locke Key, like what are some
Oh, yeah,
other
Shining.
things you've really enjoyed that you would point them to, if anything?
Yeah.
I mean,
I know it's the struggle you're having yourself.
Right.
but-
It's the struggle I'm having myself. The only thing I can say for certain is Fables.
Cool.
Because it's still very fantasy. It's
We've
still
done an
very
episode for it.
cartoon, but then gets real dark.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it. Which actually, I wasn't even turned on to Fables until Wolf Among Us by Telltale Games. That's what brought me into Fables. Was playing Wolf Among Us
was
and
good stuff.
really
I
liking
still
that
haven't
game.
played it, and now when I finally do it, it'll be bittersweet.
It will be bittersweet. I was so excited about season 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really great game. If you guys, kind of what I love about pop culture and fandom, especially now. Like I know we kind of reiterate all the time on Geek and Sundry that like it's a great time to be a nerd.
It is.
Because it really is. We are in like the golden age right
You
now.
kids don't know how well you got it.
right?
Yeah,
But, like,
it's the only time I will ever do that. I apologize.
Between video
lit.
games,
Sluggo's
comics,
lit.
movies, TV, but between all of it, everything's so interlaced now.
Yeah.
I mean, attire, look at your beautiful jacket. Like everything is so available and interlaced for us
Everything is
now
connected.
that it's you can stumble into things in some of the coolest ways. So yeah, like video games led me to Fables. That's what happened, and
That
it was
makes
very
me so happy. We have
Right?
we have video games that tie into comic books now, and they're good.
It's
They're
super bizarre.
Supposedly like Spider-Man for the 2600. Oh,
Telltale's Batman was actually pretty good too.
yeah, I was a big fan.
Played that. That was
I haven't
good too.
played that one.
I have weird feelings about it that I will tell you about off camera, but I do
I
love
liked
it.
the detective aspects of it.
No, I do.
I like that they
did love
focused
it.
on Batman as a detective. That was very cool.
I loved it, and I have friends who are in it, so I have all, so it's like very strange, but it's a good time.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do we have a topic?
Do we have a topic?
Oh.
Are we doing a topic today?
We do.
What?
Is what we're being told.
I figure.
Oh, this is going to be a spoilery one, though.
Oh.
It's going to be a spoilery one. I'm okay with that. We can do that. No, it does. I figured out how we can do it without being spoilery. Okay, this is going to be a tough one. It's going to be fun. Let's do this.
Mysterious.
Mysterious whispers.
Welcome to the Wednesday Club. This is our 5-minute topic suggested by you, the chat. Lay it on me. We'll introduce ourselves at the end.
Our topic today is from Weary Katie.
Hi, Weird Katie.
Hi, Weary Katie. Weary. You're throwing a house party at Key House.
From Locke Key, the focus of today's
House
episode.
party.
If you're watching this on YouTube at some undefined point in the future.
Oh, and they just made it go away. I mean, which keys do you use to make the party more interesting, and how?
Okay, spoilery.
Can
if
we-
you haven't read
We
Locke
can make
Can we make
our
up
own
keys?
keys. I'm
I
deciding.
think that's the non-spoiler version. Is we could make
Is
up
we
keys that
make
don't
up
exist.
keys that
Well, we
don't
can
exist.
make up keys. So if you can't, then you can just use a key that exists, but they won't know if it necessarily is a real one because we're making up keys too.
Are we two truthers and a lie?
It's your house. You guys make the house rules. I would say you have to stick with pre-existing keys to make the question a little
only have
harder.
4 keys,
but
though.
I'm a hard ass. That's true. You only have 4.
I only got
Let's
4
make up
keys for this.
Talison's not there yet.
I'm not there yet, so I may make up a key instead of using a real one.
Okay.
Okay, repeat the question though, because it's if you're throwing a party, which keys
Throwing
do you
a
use?
house party at Key House, which keys do you use to make the party more interesting?
Which keys do you use to make the party more interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Everything I can think of is a spoiler.
Yeah, everything's a spoiler if I use actual keys.
I've got my immediate one, and this may be a real key or may not, but I'm not
Okay,
entirely
okay.
sure.
We're not gonna
I
keep
would
on
want to
with
be
that.
able to walk through a door and have another version of me join me on the other side of the door that's like just a slightly Elseworlds version of me, like maybe a different gender or a different occupation, or like something went wrong, or like, I've got a scar, so I'm obviously evil. Whatever, just keep doing that until I've got like 30 different
It's like
versions
a
of myself.
Bizarro key.
Yeah, it's like a Bizarro key. You just get like alternate or like Pet Cemetery versions of yourself, like.
I love it.
And eventually you have to figure out which one's the evil one, hunt them down and kill them.
Very creative, but I'm also like, doesn't this just mean that your party multiplies and multiplies because everyone brings their own little Bizarro army?
Are you assuming no one came to your party?
I'm
'Cause
the
you
only
can have guests
I'm the
at
only
party.
person I invite because apparently I don't know how to use Facebook invite. I've been proven anything this week.
Oh, no.
So I don't know how the Facebook
no.
party invite system works.
Oh no!
So-
So you send out a Facebook party invite, but you messed it up, so no one shows up. So you've got to use the alt Taliesin key to just have a giant Taliesin.
I am the best company I know, to be fair. So-
Perfect.
Wow, it's not true.
Okay.
There we are.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What would you go with?
What key would I use to make the party interesting? Ooh. Quick scan to see, at least as of where I am. I would definitely want one that you put a key in basically any door, and when you come through, the axis of up has shifted, but just for you, not for the
Okay.
whole house.
Okay.
So eventually in the party, people are just walking on all 4 surfaces in and out of the rooms, like dancing and hanging out, and like everybody's up is different.
What would you call it?
The gravity key? No.
Maybe gravity key's good.
Maybe the gravity
key
key.
is good. Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be gravity key.
I was just thinking of that picture of you holding on to the tail of the horse, which is why.
Yeah, we just went to a Halloween attraction where you take like a fake optical illusion. Maybe that's why I'm thinking about
That's
that.
such a good idea.
That's really cool.
I just stole this from a Halloween attraction.
We have
But,
lives. We pull things from them.
Cool optical illusion. You stand and then you turn the picture. Go to my Instagram. It's fun. What about you?
Very cool. There's one specifically from the story that I would love to say, but I don't want to spoil for anyone who hasn't quite
Can you tell me in code?
gotten there yet.
Use a different
My
name for
code
it.
is.
Oh.
That's my
Yeah.
code.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's my code. I think
Oh,
that would
yeah.
make for a very interesting party. The word interesting being the focal point of that question. But if I'm going to make up a key, I guess, I don't know, I maybe a key that when you walk through the door, you can have any part of your physical being cybernetically enhanced.
Ooh.
And call it the cyborg key. So whatever you want that to be, whether it's an arm, an eyeball, whatever you want that to be to kind of give you enhanced cybernetic powers for the duration of the time that you are
So it's like
using the key.
It's like a weird like pseudo alien abduction key. You come out and like some part of you has been replaced.
What are the
But, like,
specific
with something
party
better?
By your choice.
applications here?
Oh.
But then when you go
I would
back
want to roulette
through
that,
the door,
though.
when you go back through the door, you're you again. So it's just
Wait, I gotta hear about this. What are the specific party applications? Is it like, and now this one opens drinks? Is it like,
I mean-
I've got an iPod in my left hand?
I mean, it depends on how you party.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
if it's
the LAN
like,
party.
if it's an escape room party or a LAN party, computational skills.
That's just cheating.
Some, yeah,
You're no fun at parties.
Cheating key.
Do not game with Trisha. What the heck?
Only when she has a magic key that gives her cybernetic power.
Literally wall hack.
I'm now seeing like 50 Trisha
Mine is
Hershbergers,
wall hack, actually.
all with different cybernetic implants, all on different layers of the house, all sitting and just like sniping people.
Yeah. When we combine all of the
You
keys
were
Yes,
together.
were
when
so
we all
horrified.
attend the same party and we're like, bring your own key.
Hilarious.
That's pretty
love
solid.
it.
That's
I
pretty
love it.
solid.
Yes. But the keys in this book are so good.
My
They're so good.
my other dumb one would be the sobriety key. Just because that way you can get as trashed as you want at the party. As long as you leave the front door, you walk out and like, oh, yep, I'm good.
No hangover.
No hangover, no nothing.
I mean, please invent that.
And then you go back in and you're like, "Ugh."
That's good too. That's
Does
good
the size of the door dictate how intoxicated you are?
Yeah,
when
and
you
like
go through
you
it?
have to go through. Is it the drunker you are, you have to go through a smaller door because that would be funny. But only a big door only does so much. But if it's a really really tiny door, you have to like go through like the doggy door, and then you're like, I am fine.
You're right. That is much
I am
funnier.
great. But you had to crawl through the doggy door to make it happen.
That would be good. That would be good. Yeah, I mean, just introducing magic to a party in general is a very cool idea. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like powers that everyone always says that they'd want. Like I guess you could do like a flight
Yeah.
key.
Flight
But
key.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not really specific to parties.
No, and it can't. And well, I guess it could go horribly wrong, which is always part of the fun as well.
It's part of the fun of the party.
Sounds
is
like
that it
everything
goes
goes
wrong.
horribly
Go
wrong.
I don't want it at my party.
That's
And that-
sticking with it.
Is what the kind of party we would throw, the kid party, which is clearly what you all were thinking about. Thanks, chat.
Thanks, Chad.
For our very special Locke Key episode of Wednesday Club. I'm Amy Dallen. This is Taliesin Jaffe, and we have a very special guest.
Hi guys, I'm Trisha Hershberger.
You can watch this show every Wednesday on twitch.tv/Geek and Sundry and on Project Alpha. And thank you for your. That was an awesome question.
That was an awesome
Crazy question. I loved it.
Yes.
I loved it. We're getting
And if you haven't read Locke and Key yet, do that because it's almost Halloween and it's awesome.
Lock and key.
So we have a little more time. Do we have any questions that popped in here?
Yeah.
For me to just finish reading the book because
Well-
I need to know.
well, then,
I
like-
need to know what happens.
People are asking like if you're interested in an animated adaptation of it, they were asking like who we voice cast. I'm looking forward to listening to the radio drama version of this, which is really exciting. Once I finish the books.
Yeah, it's
13
on Audible.
hours.
You're an Audible person.
13 hours on
Yep.
Audible.
I'm
wow.
on, I think, chapter 26 of 35 right now in the audio drama.
Oh my God, there's so much here. I'm trying to find a fun one. I got too many questions as part of that. Oh my God, there's so much.
I like the gravity key.
I know the gravity key is kind of fun.
Sounds fun.
Oh my God. Mostly, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac was another book that people were throwing out
Beardtastic
there.
Yogi says the infinite taco key.
Why did we not think of food?
Infinite taco.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
You just put it in, and then just tacos come out of the door. And
Or
somebody shove
maybe
it
you
back.
can just always go in and get freshly made tacos that are just ready to eat.
I'm a big fan of the song "It's Raining Tacos." I don't know if you've ever heard
What
it.
don't
song?
know. I don't know this song that's raining
Perry
tacos.
Grip has a song called "It's Raining Tacos." It's like techno music for little kids.
Okay.
So it's a dance song called "It's Raining Tacos." It's great.
Oh,
Yeah, look
Logan
it up.
has a book that's Dragons Love Tacos, and that's pretty good
It's true.
too.
That's adorable.
I actually, random tangent, but since we're talking about comic books, there's like my first DC, there's a series, my first DC books for kids, and they are so cute. And I have them for Logan. They're amazing. And so he now has, like my, what's the girl one called? I forget. It's like
My first book of girl power.
my first book of girl power. You've
Whoa.
seen it. He flips through and he'll go, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Hawk Girl, Bumblebee. And he doesn't read any of the other words on each page, but he can list off who those ladies are. Katana.
I'm so happy. It's so
We are
So
raising
cool.
such a wonderful generation of nerds. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's like, and then at the end, the last page is like, these superheroines are smart and kind, and he just gets the last book and goes, smart, kind. And I'm like, That's my dude. That's my dude.
Oh.
I'm hoping to like kind of instill a good sense of taste in books by what we give him. He's got a couple books by Neil Gaiman. All these people have children's books.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? Not me until I made a tiny human. But yes, there's a lot of cool stuff out there for them.
We may at some point, if you're interested, have you back to talk about good comic books for tiny humans.
Dude, I can bring so many. I can bring so many. I have so many.
I love that we'll start with literally the opposite of that.
Yeah, no.
Move on.
This is not for tiny
That's
humans.
definitely not for tiny humans.
I'm trying to think, like, it's tough to show off the art too much because everything is
Everything is a spoiler or so violent that it defies human comprehension, or both.
I feel like a lot of the covers are not spoilery.
No, they're too obtuse. Is that the word? Yeah.
There's no. I'm just like, I'm so sad for you. I'm so sad for you.
Oh, that bracelet. They should make that bracelet. It's so beautiful. There is a bracelet in this comic that is amazing. I suppose I am actually. This is something I wanted to. Oh man, Poltergeist. That movie also messed me up. Hi, chat.
Terrifying.
I have weird feelings about that movie.
I still have nightmares about that movie.
Yeah, it's a lot. Are you doing a nerd costume for Logan for Halloween? Is this a...
So for Halloween...
Unless this is a surprise.
No, he is going to... We don't really have anywhere to go besides trick-or-treating, so
Sure.
it's not like
it
will be
trick-or-treating.
debuting at a party or anything. He is Batman. And the husbando and I are going as super, super casual caped t-shirt sidekicks. So Nate got a Robin one and I have a Batgirl one.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we learned last year that, and at our first Comic-Con we took him to, that trying to do full costumed characters whilst also toddler wrangling is a poor choice.
I have some friends who do it. And
poor
I don't
choice.
know how they do it.
Yeah.
I have two friends who pull that off, and I don't know how they do it. And
yeah, so we decided this year to give ourselves a little bit of a break, and we're just going to do jeans and a casual t-shirt, and he's in full costume. So we'll be able to take care of like our tiny Batman. He also is going to be, he has a second Halloween costume because he's cool
so
like
proud.
that.
So proud.
He's also going to do a Jack Skellington.
Nice.
He has a friend who we made in swim class whose name is Eowyn, because I was like, what's your name again? You guys are my people. So Eowyn is going to be Sally, and he's going to be Jack, and they're going to hang out together.
That's so cute.
That's the cutest.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so
those
cute.
are his two costumes.
Okay, they don't know what this means, right?
No.
No.
Okay.
That's totally...
Show that off really quickly.
You can show that off.
I haven't figured out my Halloween costume yet, and
Really?
I have to do it while I'm in England. It's so sad.
So cool.
Yep. Just a random issue cover, you know.
Because
just
you
stuff.
can. Because you can.
The book is so rewarding.
Yeah, mostly it's like people saying that we should talk a little bit more about horror comics, but I'm trying to think of what else to really like. If you like Locke and Key is so unique. I don't even really necessarily know what else to recommend.
Think of
that's
a million things in like 2 days.
Yeah, no.
Well, guys, if you think of a million things in 2 days, please tweet them to me.
So we are frequently talking about Vertigo, late 80s, early 90s. We did our Constantine special last week.
Oh, I love Constantine.
Yeah.
Gotta love John Constantine.
Yes, love Constantine.
Lots of very disturbing, dark, technically fantasy, but
Well,
you
and
know, a lot of
also
horror.
in college, I was a theology minor, so I love like the dark holes that Constantine goes down.
Why did you have to be here when Matt wasn't here?
I know.
That's his jam.
You know what's
at
fun?
a deep level.
Well, I always thought I was such a weird kid for being like, I was a theater major and a theology minor. Like, who does that? And a friend of mine was like, D&D kids. And I was like,
Yeah.
it all makes sense. My life just finally clicked. Because I just thought I was this super weirdo that had these two random things. And I was like, oh, yes, I did play D&D for years and years. And that, okay.
Now it all makes sense. Now it all
It
comes
all
together.
fits together. But yeah, so Constantine, in fact, when I saw the movie, the thing I was pissed about was how incorrect all the theology was. I was like, guys, you couldn't have even, I know you changed it for story purposes, but
So have you read Lucifer?
I have not read Lucifer.
Oh.
Spins out of Sandman. And then gets its own series. I haven't read that much of it, but
I love it. I love it.
Like even to, hey,
We have to talk about it at some point because it's really amazing.
okay, now that I know the theology part, I really need to know what you think of Sandman.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I know we've only got a few minutes left. I'm trying to think of. I don't even remember. I'm not going to be here next week, obviously, because I'm going to be on an airplane while this show is happening.
But you'll get Matt back.
But you do get a map back. I'm also. I need to tell. I don't think I've told anybody. I'm going to be at. I have a convention coming up. I'm going to be at LostCon in LA, the 23rd and 25th, no, the 3rd to the 25th.
And the word you're saying is LOSCON, right?
LOSCON, LosCon, at November, the November 23rd to 25th.
Excellent.
And I'm going to try and drag some other of people down to party. I don't know who's showing up yet, but I'm seeing how many poor people I can grab from over
That's
here.
over
to play.
Thanksgiving, right?
Plane we keep talking about that you're going on, is it to go to maybe meet some Wednesdays and or some critters somewhere in the world? Oh no! It's
Oh
just
yeah,
vacation.
God.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
sending alternate universe Taliesin.
I'm also going.
Never
That's
mind.
right. I'm going to be at MCM London this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, Friday. I want to say Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I want to say is our
Cool.
MCM London run. That should be insane, and I'm going to be exhausted, out of it, on new meds, so I might be a little weird. It's going to be great.
They would expect
So
nothing
much
less.
fun.
It's going to be so much fun. I'm not going to remember my own name by the
Have
end
you
of the
been to
weekend.
London before?
Not since I was a kid. I was there. I lived there for a couple of years. I was there a little bit as a child, but like I haven't been back since I was like 10.
Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah, all I remember is I wanted to hose down all the buildings because they were really dirty. I'm sure it's not that way anymore. But
Do you have anything that you want to make sure to point people to?
Yes, please watch
Yes.
Game Engine Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Woo!
We have a great time joking about everything going on
It's
in the world of
amazing.
video games. We play video games. We often have on fun guests that you may know from other places on this channel. I also do a lot of tech shows right now. So I'm doing a tech show for Newegg and a tech show for Kingston. So if
I
that's
like your
your
new
jam.
Tech show.
Thank you. If that's your jam, you can follow me on social media to tune into those things as well. And then if you, since we've talked about it so much in this, if you collect tiny humans as well, Ivan Van Norman and myself and Lasercorn, formerly of Smosh Games, have a YouTube channel called Nerds with Kids.
So good.
And
Adorable.
we talk about things that people who are very into fandom culture and problems that naturally arise from that, like my Game of Thrones watching problem,
Yeah.
how you kind of deal with those struggles whilst also having tiny humans that you're responsible for. So yeah, that's it. But other than that, just thank you guys so much for having me on the show.
Thank
This
you
has
for
been
being
so
here.
fun.
And thank you for turning me on to Locke Key. I'm going to read it all right now. It's gonna be crazy.
I will not be because I have to stick around for Weave, which is going to be really exciting.
Is it Whitney? Is
It's Whitney.
Whitney Moore.
Yeah.
She's DMing.
Yes.
DMing. Yes.
I always say DMing.
I know.
Queeving. She's
It's
queeving.
the world I grew up in.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching Wednesday Club. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.